Chapter 42-28. No one had expected Jiyu Fei to devour the yuan qi of billions of exotic beasts all by himself and resolve Nantian City's crisis. At that moment, a huge ball of blood floated in the air. Destructive bolts of lightning danced around the ball of blood, and an unimaginably powerful ripple of energy spread out from the ball of blood. Everyone was inexplicably shocked. No one could imagine how powerful the person who devoured billions of exotic beasts was. Those were billions of exotic beasts, all of the white-haired beast sovereign's assets. It was a monstrous force that could seal off the entire star region and conquer the entire ancestral star. However, this force was stopped right there. Raw. While everyone was shocked, the white-haired beast sovereign seemed to have gone mad. He revealed his true form and charged at Jiyu Fei. It was the most direct attack. The beast that the white-haired beast sovereign had transformed into crashed into the ball of blood. The next moment, the ball of blood exploded. Amidst the boundless bloodlight, a figure appeared. His right hand pressed on the beast sovereign's head. Although the white-haired beast sovereign was powerful and his physical body was extremely tough, it was a pity that his opponent was Jiyu Fei. Therefore, the guy was doomed. Mo Tianyi and the others were shocked to see Jiyu Fei stop the white-haired beast sovereign's attack with one hand. It can fight against a quasi-supreme. Not bad. Jiyu Fei tested the extent of his strength. The white-haired beast sovereign was a quasi-supreme. It was extremely powerful, but he had stopped it with one hand. Roar. The white-haired beast sovereign kept roaring and exerted all his strength. He knew that no matter how hard he tried, he could not shake Jiyu Fei. Buzz. At that moment, a tremor came from the white-haired beast sovereign's body. In the next moment, Jiyu Fei felt the heavens and earth shake, and then he realized that he'd entered another space. The power of a domain? Jiyu Fei said indifferently. Little guy, I'm going to turn you into nothingness. The white-haired beast sovereign's voice came. Turn me into nothingness? When Jiyu Fei heard this, he didn't think much of it. Ever since he started cultivating, he had experienced countless life and death tribulations, and he was still alive and well. A formidable power of nothingness erupted and the void around Jiyu Fei turned into nothingness. However, Jiyu Fei was not affected in the slightest. What? The white-haired beast sovereign was shocked. He didn't believe it. He activated the nihility domain again, but the result was the same. However, he now knew why Jiyu Fei wasn't affected. Divine light surged from Jiyu Fei's body, blocking the power of the void. What kind of divine ability is this? The white-haired beastman said through gritted teeth. Eternal. Jiyu Fei only uttered these two words. In the next moment, an imperishable light shot out from his chest and pierced through the void domain. Then, the entire domain of nothingness began to crumble. Ever since he mastered the nihility domain, no one had been able to break it. Today, it was completely broken. The white-haired beast sovereign couldn't accept this. The white-haired beast sovereign's domain crumbled completely, and his beast body also crumbled in the void. Without hesitation, Jiyu Fei devoured the white-haired beast sovereign's power. This was the power of a quasi-supreme being. The moment this power entered his body, he could feel the power in his body rising rapidly. Buzz. The 9 revolutions technique was activated. A tremor came from Jiyu Fei's body as if something had been broken. In the next moment, 9 Dao patterns appeared on Jiyu Fei's body. The beast sovereign of a generation had fallen just like that. To help Jiyu Fei, he had lost his life. Master. So powerful, in the public square of Nantian City, Zhao Hao raised his head and looked at the scene. His eyes flickered. Father's cultivation. Jiyu Ling frowned when she realized Jiyu Fei's cultivation. It should be noted that her father was almost invincible in the human realm when she set foot on the ancient road of the human race. Yang and Meng Long also looked at the scene in the sky in shock. Is the primordial ancestral planet going to change? Some of the old-timers stared at the extremely powerful figure in the sky with complicated expressions on their faces. If Jiyu Fei had fought for the primordial ancestral planet, many people would have died. At that moment, Jiyu Fei sat cross-legged in the void. Divine sounds of the Great Path came from his body. Everyone was shocked to the extreme. Some people felt as if they had been enlightened. The shackles of their cultivation were immediately broken, and they broke through to a new level, gaining new power. Even the saints benefited a lot. Soon, Gu Fei's cultivation completely stabilized. A low-level holy master? Gu Fei smiled. He was very satisfied with this result. So what if he was a low-level holy master? He could still kill a quasi-supreme patriarch with one punch. Back then, the first demon ancestor had been too ruthless. At the cost of his life, he had sent Gu Fei into the cycle of reincarnation and stripped him of his invincible cultivation. Even Gu Fei's eternal body was almost completely stripped of its eternal power, turning him into a mortal body. Fortunately, Gu Fei's heart and sternum still contained eternal divinity, which allowed him to gradually recover his eternal body. However, it was not easy to completely restore the eternal body. Even so, Gu Fei's martial body was stronger than a quasi-supreme divine body. Moreover, his martial body had eternal and indestructible divinity. Gu Fei stopped and stood up. He took a step forward and instantly returned to the square of Nantian City. It's time to settle the score with the Celestial clan. Gu Fei came in front of his daughter, Gu Ling, and with a wave of his sleeve, he took Gu Ling and the others into his inner world. He sent a voice transmission to Yang Er. Soon, Yang Er came out and brought Gu Ling and the others into the valley. At this time, Gu Fei arrived in front of the southern heavenly gate on the square. There was only one stone gate, but it was the passage to the primordial ancestral planet. After the primordial ancestral planet's protective formation was activated, everyone, including quasi-supreme martial artists, could only enter the primordial ancestral planet through the 4 heavenly gates. What is he doing? At this time, countless eyes were staring at Gu Fei. This was a peerless and ruthless person who had single-handedly destroyed billions of exotic beasts. Seeing his arrival, everyone felt uneasy. They saw Gu Fei put his right hand on the stone gate and closed his eyes, as if he was sensing something. Then, under everyone's dumbfounded gaze, Gu Fei pushed open the southern heavenly gate and walked in, disappearing into the southern heavenly gate. Even Mo Tianyi, the city lord of Nantian City, could not believe that Gu Fei had pushed open the southern heavenly gate. This was too easy. It was like a dream. Mo Tianyi had tried to open the southern heavenly gate when it was closed, but he had failed in the end. Oh no! At this time, the people of the Celestial clan in the city suddenly came to their senses. Gu Fei had entered the primordial ancestral planet to settle the score with the Celestial clan. Chapter 42-29. Nantian City's crisis was temporarily resolved thanks to Gu Fei's intervention. However, the entire primordial ancestral planet was still in a state of turmoil. Eastern Heaven Gate, Western Heaven Gate, and Northern Heaven Gate were all surrounded by the otherworldly beasts. This time, the white-haired beast sovereign was not the only one involved. It was impossible to conquer the entire primordial ancestral planet with just one beast sovereign. On the surface, the 4 beast sovereigns had joined forces to attack the primordial ancestral planet. However, who knew how many beast sovereigns were involved? Boom! Following a loud noise, Eastern Heaven City was breached. The city lord of Eastern Heaven City died in battle and the Eastern Heaven Gate fell into the hands of the Sky Serpent Beast Sovereign. Western Heaven City and Northern Heaven City were still struggling. Gu Fei did not care too much and directly entered the primordial ancestral planet. At the moment, all the major forces on the primordial ancestral planet were preparing for war. The atmosphere was extremely tense. After all, if the otherworldly beasts were to invade the primordial ancestral planet, many people would die. In the southern region of the primordial ancestral planet, the Celestial clan leader was furious in the ancestral land of the celestial humans. They had lost red-browed Saint Venerate and 2 half-ancestors, Yin Feng and Leng Dian, in one day. This was an irreparable loss for the celestial humans. The deaths of Yin Feng and Leng Dian, the 2 half-martial ancestors, nearly drove the Celestial clan's patriarch mad. Outside the ancestral land of the celestial humans was an ancient city called Celestial City. In the New Moon Tower of Celestial City, a man was drinking to his heart's content while facing the moon. The #1 private room of the new moon tower was indeed worthy of its reputation. From here, one could overlook the entire city and raise a glass to the moon. However, in the large private room that could seat over 10 people, there was only a black-robed man drinking by himself. It seemed a little cold and cheerless. At this moment, footsteps were heard from outside. A group of people had arrived. Then, a man opened the door and walked in. "What's the matter?" Ji Fei asked with a frown. The person who came in was a waiter. "Well, sir, can you change to another private room?" The waiter said embarrassedly. "Nope." Ji Fei rejected immediately. Bang! At this moment, the person outside kicked the door open and strode in. "I told you to scram, yet you don't know how to appreciate my kindness. You're courting death." The leader of the group was a youth who was incomparably arrogant. Behind this youth were 5 or 6 similarly youthful cultivators. "Young Master Chu, why bother with this guy? Just blast it away," a young man said disdainfully. "That's right, we can't let this guy who came out of nowhere ruin our mood of drinking and admiring the moon," another young man said as he looked at Ji Fei with disdain. "Hurry up and scram. Do you really want us to ask you to scram?" A short and fat young man said coldly. "Are you done?" At this time, Ji Fei raised his head and coldly glanced at these people. A bunch of good-for-nothings. If he had not stopped the rare beasts outside the South Heaven Gate, the southern region of the primordial ancestral planet would have long turned into Azura hell. "What kind of attitude is that? How dare you look down on us?" The short and fat young man glared at them as a murderous intent burst out from his body. "Kill him and feed him to the wild dogs in the mass grave outside the city," the leader of the group, young Master Chu, said with a gloomy face. He, all right, young Master Chu." The short and fat young man revealed a ferocious expression. Humph. Ji Fei was enraged. It seemed like these guys were not kind people. They actually treated human lives like grass and killed without hesitation. That's too cold-blooded. Fortunately, it was him today. If it was someone else, wouldn't they be beaten to death and fed to the wild dogs in the mass grave? "Kid, you're unlucky today. Accept your fate." The fat young man walked forward with a hideous smile. "Accept my fate." Ji Fei smiled, his pearly white teeth seemingly glowing. "You can still smile at a time like this. I'm really impressed," a young man said with a smile. At this time, the fat young man took out a soft sword and slashed at Ji Fei's neck. In the next moment, the fat young man's smile froze on his face. Everyone looked at Ji Fei in shock. They saw that Ji Fei actually pinched the fat young man's sword. The leader of the group, young Master Chu, saw this and his face became solemn. In the next moment, Ji Fei stretched out his finger and flicked the sword. The divine weapon directly shattered and the fragments shot towards young Master Chu and the others. The first to bear the brunt was the fat young man holding the sword. Puff! The fat young man's body was directly pierced by the fragments and blood splashed. The power of those fragments was so great that even young Master Chu and the others couldn't avoid it. They were directly shot and screams sounded. The smell of blood filled the air. "Do you know who I am? How dare you hurt me?" Young Master Chu, who was shot in the left chest by a fragment, gritted his teeth and said. Among the people present, he was the only one who could stand. The others had all fallen and were struggling on the ground in pain. "Can't withstand a single blow." Ji Fei shook his head. These guys were only good at talking, but they didn't have any real ability. Young Master Chu was shocked and angry. The other party simply ignored him and didn't take him seriously at all. "You're in trouble." At this moment, a voice rang in Ji Fei's head. In the next moment, a middle-aged man walked in from outside. He is the young master of the Chu clan. The Chu clan is the vassal of the celestial clan on the primordial ancestral planet. The middle-aged man continued to explain. It turned out that this young Master Chu was so arrogant. He had the entire Chu clan behind him. The Chu clan was the most powerful clan under the celestial clan. Young Master Chu was arrogant and didn't take anyone seriously at all. But now, young Master Chu had to admit that Ji Fei was really strong. He was so strong that he couldn't even imagine it. Even if the clan leader of the Celestial clan is here, I will kill him as well. Ji Yufei said disapprovingly. Hearing Ji Yufei's words, the middle-aged man and young Master Chu were inexplicably shocked. I'll send you on your way. After saying that, Ji Yufei waved his hand. In the next moment, young Master Chu's entire body exploded and turned into a cloud of blood mist that dissipated into the void. The insufferably arrogant young Master Chu didn't even have the chance to let out a scream before he died. You're courting death. You can't blame others. Ji Yufei shook his head. Killing these good-for-nothings really didn't give him any sense of accomplishment. Seeing that Ji Yufei really killed young Master Chu, the middle-aged man was also stunned. Then, he turned around and left. At this moment, the waitress of the New Moon brothel was already trembling in fear. She looked at Ji Yufei in horror. Ji Yufei didn't let these good-for-nothings go. He stood up and stomped all of them to death. This. Chapter 42:30. Young Master Chu was dead. Young Master Huang was also dead. Young Master Shi's head had been crushed. When this news spread out, the entire New Moon Pavilion was shaken. Countless cultivators were shocked to the extreme. Young Master Chu was the youngest son of the Chu clan's current clan lord. He relied on the Chu clan and the Celestial clan's power to run amok in Heaven City. Young Master Huang was the son of the Huang clan, which was only slightly weaker than the Chu clan. The Huang clan's influence in Celestial City wasn't small either. Young Master Shi came from the Stone clan, a superpower on the ancestral primal planet. The Stone clan had once produced a supreme. It was said that the Stone clan's progenitor was a creature born from a primal chaos divine stone before the primordial chaos was formed. Young Master Shi's status was even higher than young Master Chu's. Young Master Chu had wanted to entertain him, but who would have thought he would run into Ji Yufei? Young Master Shi's death was truly unjust. News of young Master Shi's death was sent back to the Stone clan by his servants. One of the Stone clan's ancestors was enraged and immediately left for Celestial City. The Chu clan, the Huang clan, and the other native powers of Celestial City reacted immediately. Chu Tianquang, the Chu clan's leader, led his men to the New Moon Pavilion. Young Master Chu was Chu Tianquang's most beloved son. Now that he had died in the New Moon Pavilion, the place couldn't escape responsibility. Madman, come out and accept your death. Chu Tianquang stood in the air, glaring at the First Sky Pavilion with a dark expression. Why don't you come in and accept your death? The voice came from the room. What? Chu Tianquang was enraged. The Chu clan's higher-ups behind him were even more enraged. How dare this guy say such a thing? Did he think he was Di Zhoutian? Or Jueshan Ling? Di Zhoutian was one of the strongest existences on the ancestral primal planet. Some said that he was a supreme who sealed his cultivation. Others said that he had a heaven-defying constitution. Though he was only a quasi-supreme, he was no different from a supreme. Jueshan Ling was said to be able to compete with Di Zhoutian. Countless cultivators wanted to know who was stronger between the two. However, the two of them had never met each other before, much less fought against each other. Boom! Chu Tianquang couldn't take it anymore and directly attacked. A dragon shadow rushed out from his body and pounced towards the private room Ji Yufei was in. Right at this moment, a cold laugh sounded out from within the New Moon brothel. Boom! The huge dragon that was pouncing towards Ji Yufei's private room exploded in the void, and a layer of light appeared in the void. New Moon brothel master, what do you mean by this? Chu Tian roared furiously. What do I mean? I want to ask you, what do you mean? Do you want to tear down my New Moon Pavilion? A charming voice came out from the building. This voice was full of temptation, as if it could hook a person's soul. It had a kind of demonic nature to it. My son died here. So what if I tear down your New Moon brothel? Chu Tian roared. Your son is too much of a bastard. If he's dead, then so be it. The voice continued. What did you say? Chu Tianquang was instantly enraged upon hearing this. Isn't it? Said the voice. Young Master Chu had been running amok in Heaven City for a long time. Chu Tianquang had heard about it and knew of his youngest son's misdeeds. However, he didn't interfere too much. Damn it. Chu Tianquang almost went crazy. Moreover, this new moon brothel isn't a place where you can act presumptuously. The voice of the owner of the new moon brothel wasn't very loud, but it reached the ears of everyone present. The higher-ups of the Chu clan couldn't help but be shocked when they heard this. This new moon brothel really wasn't a place where they could act presumptuously. Mph, this kid killed young Master Shi. I don't believe he can hide in there forever. Chu Tianquang sneered. The Stone Clan was one of the strongest cultivation clans on the primordial ancestral planet. Jiyu Fei killing young Master Shi was definitely a heaven-defying matter. The owner of the new moon brothel also fell silent. At this time, everyone was walking towards the new moon brothel. Who is that? How dare he kill the Chu clan's playboy? Someone exclaimed. That little guy from the Chu clan finally kicked an iron plate. The people of Heaven City were shocked and overjoyed. Some people were shocked by young Master Shi's death. At this moment, in the number 1 private room of the new moon brothel, Jiyu Fei was drinking wine by himself while admiring the moon. It was as if nothing had happened. The head of the Chu clan, Chu Tianquang, didn't dare to attack the new moon brothel. Go invite Elder Yi of the Celestial clan. Chu Tianquang looked at the figure inside the new moon brothel and gritted his teeth. Although he didn't dare to touch Jiyu Fei or act presumptuously before the new moon brothel, some people dared. The Celestial clan was no weaker than the Stone clan. Yes, family head. Someone accepted the order and left. Soon, a ray of divine light charged out from the City Lord's mansion toward the new moon brothel. The divine light instantly arrived before Jiyu Fei. The next moment, the divine light dissipated and a figure appeared before Master Void. Without any suspense, even if Jiyu Fei and the divine light were to be swept by it, they would also dissipate into the void and disappear without a trace. A powerful aura spread out from the figure, and everyone's hearts palpitated. It was an old man dressed in white. He was tall and slender. When he was young, he must have been a handsome man. Even though he was old, he still exuded an otherworldly aura. Who killed young Master Chu? The old man asked calmly, and his expression became very serious. Elder Yi, it's that brat. Someone pointed at the figure in the new moon brothel. New moon brothel master, hand over the person. Elder Yi stared at the figure in front of him and a cold murderous aura emanated from his body. Yi Xiao, if you want the person, then let's see if you have the ability. The existence inside the new moon brothel said. Yi Xiao was the ruler of the Celestial clan in Heaven City. He was the City Lord of Heaven City. At this moment, the owner of the new moon brothel was shocked and angry. The owner of the new moon brothel didn't even put Yi Xiao in his eyes, which shocked everyone inside. Yi Xiao and Chu Tianquang couldn't do anything to the owner of the new moon brothel right now. At this moment, a ray of divine light descended from the sky and landed on the transfer array. A figure appeared on the transfer array. Who killed my inheritor? A wave of divine sense immediately surged out from the old man's body, enveloping the entire Heaven Man City. Haha, you're dead. Chu Tianquang laughed. That is, Yi Xiao frowned. Inside the new moon brothel, Jiyu Fei was still calm. Chapter 42-31. The old ancestor of the stone race had arrived. This shocked everyone. A terrifying aura instantly enveloped the entire Heaven Man City. All the cultivators in the city were terrified to the extreme, a fear that came from the depths of their souls. Haha, now that the Stone Clan's ancestor is here, this little bastard is dead for sure. The Celestial Clan's lord, Yi Xiao, laughed heartily. The Stone Clan's ancestor is a quasi-supreme. Chu Tianquang said in a low voice. Young Master Shi had the support of a big shot. Otherwise, Chu Tianquang wouldn't have sent his youngest son to entertain young Master Shi. However, no one could have imagined that young Master Shi would be killed in his own territory. Even his most beloved son was killed by that person. At this moment, Chu Tianquang had already used all the resources he had to find out who Jiyu Fei was. He wanted to know who killed his son. One should know that this was the entrance to the Celestial Clan's ancestral land. Anyone who dared to make a move here must have a great background. Otherwise, who would dare to come here to die? The Celestial clan was one of the strongest clans on the primordial ancestral planet, capable of contending against the Stone clan. By then, the defensive arrays of Sky Human City had already been activated and a terrifying power enveloped the entire city. Not even a fly could escape from Sky Human City at that very moment. Tower Master Distant Moon, get out here or I'll kill you too. An old voice came from afar. The next moment, a figure appeared in the sky above the new moon tower, overlooking the entire place. This was a domineering old man. The air around this old man was surrounded by visible lightning. A terrifying aura of destruction emanated from the old man. Even Yi Xiao, the city lord of Heaven Man City, and Chu Tianquang, the Chu clan's clan lord, were shocked. The Stone clan's ancestor was not afraid of any power. Old man, sure, I haven't seen you for many years, but you're still as hot-tempered as ever. The demonic voice was heard. Then, a figure walked out of the new moon tower. Who killed my successor? Shalei stared at the tower master and asked in a low voice. We are all cultivators. That little guy from your family was not skilled enough and was killed. This seems to be a very common thing, the new Moonhouse master said with a faint smile. What did you say? Preposterous. Ancestor Rock Thunder was enraged when he heard this. His right hand slammed down on the new Moonhouse. He would let the new Moonhouse be buried with his descendant. This ancestor of the Stone clan had a fiery temper and would attack at the slightest disagreement. The new Moonhouse master sneered and waved her hands. A layer of divine light rushed out from her hands and blocked Ancestor Stone Thunder's palm. Boom! Like the sound of a heavenly drum, Ancestor Stone Thunder's palm hit the layer of divine light and produced such a sound. The terrifying sound wave spread in all directions, causing countless cracks to appear on the surrounding buildings. Some of the nearby cultivators simply fell from the sky or from the rooftops. Some were knocked unconscious while many of their ears bled due to the sound waves. Everyone was indescribably shocked and hurriedly retreated into the distance. Only the powerful Night Owl City Master, Chu Tianquang, and the others dared to watch from nearby. The layer of divine light from the new Moonhouse Master dissipated in the void and Ancestor Stone Thunder's palm did not land on the new Moonhouse in the end. The new Moonhouse Master's body trembled and she involuntarily retreated hundreds of feet, directly flying out of the new Moonhouse. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. You overestimate yourself. Shalei sneered and attacked again. This time, he clenched his right hand into a fist and endless lightning began to gather from all directions. Boom! Ancestor Stone Thunder's punch was like a clap of thunder. It was extremely shocking. Boundless lightning was instantly released from his fist. Every single bolt of lightning tore through the void, displaying the terrifying combat power of a quasi-supreme being. How dare you! The new Moonhouse Master was finally moved when she saw this. Chimph, why wouldn't I dare? Even if Di Jotian was here, I would still kill that guy. Ancestor Stone Thunder's fist was still sinking as he spoke. It was as if the whole world and the void had been pressed down by his fist. Before it hit the new Moonhouse, the whole place was shaking. Countless runes emerged on the new Moonhouse. This was a sign that the new Moonhouse's defensive formation had been activated. However, under Ancestor Stone Thunder's thunderous attack, the new Moonhouse's defensive formation only lasted for a few breaths before it directly collapsed. Catcher! Cracks appeared on the entire new Moonhouse. It was about to collapse in front of everyone. Haha, this guy dared to come to Heavenly Human City and behave atrociously. Now he knows how powerful he is. TCH, this is Ancestor Stone Thunder, not the Celestial clan's ancestor. What's so powerful about it? Someone said mercilessly. That person was speechless. No matter who attacked, the guy in the house is dead for sure. An expert of the older generation sighed. At this time, the new Moonhouse had already been emptied. Only Jiu Fei was left in the number 1 private room, drinking and admiring the moon, as if everything outside had nothing to do with him. It's a pity that this guy didn't die by my hands. Chu Tianquang gritted his teeth and stared at the figure in the house. Yi Xiao, the city lord of heavenly human city, did not say anything, but his expression was extremely grave. There are always people who come to die. Sigh. Ji Fei had just finished the wine in his cup and stood up. He looked up at Ancestor Stone Thunder in the sky and threw a punch unhurriedly. His punch was fundamentally different from Patriarch Stone Thunder's domineering punch. His punch was light and seemed weak and powerless. However, as soon as Ji Fei threw his punch, the new moon house, which was on the verge of collapse, immediately stopped shaking. Countless lightning bolts bombarding from the sky suddenly collapsed in the void. The two forces collided. Ancestor Stone Thunder's body swayed and he took half a step back. Meanwhile, Ji Fei was as still as a mountain, but his feet left 2 footprints on the floor. Everyone could not believe it. How was this possible? This guy actually blocked Ancestor Stone Thunder's punch. This was simply heaven-defying. One had to know that Ancestor Stone Thunder was a quasi-supreme. Could it be that this black-robed youth was also a quasi-supreme? Thinking of this, Yi Xiao's forehead began to sweat. Chu Tianquang clenched his fists tightly. The other party was a quasi-supreme. This was going to be troublesome. Because of the existence of the power of heaven's punishment in the human world, extreme supremes were extinct, and quasi-supremes were invincible. The consequences of offending a quasi-supreme were extremely serious. Chapter 42-32. Ji Fei's punch had stunned everyone present. Good job, little brother. The master of the new moon house said loudly. Her voice carried a demonic quality and a strange power that could steal one's soul. Although the master of the new moon house covered her face, she had a graceful figure. At first glance, one could tell that this kind of woman was peerless and rare in the world. Ji Fei found it funny and helpless to be called little brother by the master of the new moon house. He had cultivated for countless years and was once an invincible expert in the eternal realm. He had probably made his debut earlier than the master of the new moon house. It's him. He killed Yin Wind and Leng Dian, the 2 half-ancestors. Red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable was also killed by him. At this time, an expert of the celestial humans who had just arrived suddenly stared at Ji Fei in shock. What? When everyone heard this, their shock was no small matter. This guy killed Red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable and Yin Wind and Leng Dian? Hearing this, Yi Xiao, the city lord of the celestial human city, immediately became extremely unsightly. Red-eyebrowed Saint Venerable was his junior, and Yin Wind and Leng Dian, the 2 half-ancestors, were the most promising existences in the celestial humans clan to become quasi-supreme. Yi Xiao hurriedly sent a message to the ancestors' land. At this time, Ancestor Stone Thunder became ruthless. Endless lightning rushed out of his body, connecting heaven and earth, attracting even stronger lightning power. At this time, Stone Thunder seemed to have transformed into the peerless thunder god of ancient times, and a terrible aura of destruction surged out of his body. All the cultivators in the city were extremely frightened. Ji Fei took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of Stone Thunder. All-directional thunder destruction. Ancestor Stone Thunder roared and used his strongest move. The endless power of heavenly thunder directly bombarded Ji Fei. Every lightning bolt carried a terrible power of destruction. The surrounding void directly collapsed. The power of destruction instantly swallowed Ji Fei. Everyone watched this scene nervously. Boom! In the next moment, Ji Fei directly broke through the layers of lightning and attacked Ancestor Stone Thunder with incomparable power. What? Ancestor Stone Thunder's face turned pale with fright. He frantically circulated the Xian art in his body. The power of the lightning Dao was unprecedentedly strong. A faint figure appeared on his body. It was the incarnation of the ancient Thunder Ancestor. Go to hell! Stone Thunder Ancestor roared. 9 balls of lightning shot out of his body, each of them bursting with a shocking power of the Way of Thunder. 9 thunderballs shot towards Ji Fei. Heaven Transforming Palm. Ji Fei directly displayed the Heaven Transformation hand. His right hand pressed forward, and the power of Heaven Transformation surged out. The 9 balls of lightning were instantly transformed into the most primitive essence of lightning. In the next moment, a powerful devouring power erupted from Ji Yufei's body, completely devouring the lightning essence energy that had been dispersed by the heavenly transformation hand. This, ancestor rock lightning's world was dumbfounded. Yi Xiao, Chu Tianquang, and the others who were watching from the side were dumbfounded. Even the Moonlight Housemaster was dumbfounded. There was no doubt that Ancestor Stone Thunder was powerful. Even the Moonlight Housemaster was forced to retreat by him. Even among the Quasi-Supremes, Ancestor Stone Thunder was probably the king of the Quasi-Supremes. In the next moment, Ancestor Stone Thunder's entire body was directly turned into a cloud of blood mist. Even his spirit was turned into the most primitive essence energy. This was the power and terror of the Heaven Transforming Hand. After using the Heaven Transforming Hand, Ji Yufei was even more exhausted. This battle technique consumed too much essence energy. Even though his cultivation had recovered to the Holy Venerate realm, he still couldn't keep it up. Under the envelopment of the power of Heaven Transformation, everything was melted. All the power of the Lightning Dao was transformed into the most primitive essence energy of the Lightning Dao, which was devoured by Ji Yufei. Only after devouring Ancestor Stone Thunder's power did Ji Yufei replenish his exhausted essence energy. With just one move, he killed Ancestor Stone Thunder. This kind of battle strength was enough to shock the world. Yi Xiao and Chu Tianquang were scared out of their wits by this scene. This guy was really a Quasi-Supremes who pretended to be a pig to eat a tiger. In truth, they didn't know that Ji Yufei wasn't even a Quasi-Supremes or a half-martial ancestor, but he had killed a Quasi-Supremes like Stone Thunder with a single palm strike. At this moment, the surroundings were completely silent. Everyone was looking at the black-robed youth. They were all extremely curious about who this person was and why he had appeared in Heaven Human City. All unrelated people, scram. Today, I'm going to destroy the Celestial Clan. Ji Yufei's voice wasn't loud, but it spread throughout the entire Heaven Human City. All the cultivators who heard it were indescribably shocked. What kind of joke is this? Someone actually wants to destroy the Celestial Clan? Who's talking nonsense? The entire city was shocked. Countless cultivators were discussing it. You want to destroy the Celestial Clan? Yi Xiao's expression finally changed. Let the slaughter begin. Ji Yufei glanced at Yi Xiao indifferently. In the next moment, his figure disappeared from where he stood, without a trace. Yi Xiao raised his head, but a huge foot had already stomped down. Bang! Yi Xiao's head exploded from the stomp. Then, his body and legs were directly stomped into a bloody mist by Ji Yufei's foot. Both his body and soul were directly destroyed. Everyone was immediately turned into stone statues. All of them were dumbfounded and dumbfounded. All of this was too unreal. The mighty city lord of Heaven Human City, Yi Xiao, was actually stomped to death by someone, ending up with both his body and soul destroyed. Do you still want to avenge your son? Ji Yufei's figure appeared in the void. He stood quietly with his hands behind his back, looking at Chu Tianquang expressionlessly. No, no. My son has offended the Overlord. Please forgive him, Overlord. Chu Tianquang hurriedly said. Even a holy venerate could not be insulted, let alone a quasi-supremacy who was even stronger than a holy venerate. Young Master Chu had offended a quasi-supremacy, so he deserved to be killed. Little fellow, don't be so arrogant. At that moment, an angry roar came from the sky. Then, a door of light appeared in the sky, and powerful figures walked out of it. A total of 9 experts had arrived at the same time. Among these 9 experts, the weakest was a holy venerate, while the strongest was a quasi-supremacy patriarch. The powerful reinforcements of the Celestial Clan had arrived. Yi Xiao's previous message had alarmed the patriarch in the Celestial Clan's ancestral land. This patriarch had personally led the team here. One had to know that Ji Yufei's battle record was too shocking. Red-eyebrowed Saint Venerate, Yin Feng, and Leng Dian were both extremely powerful existences. However, they had all died at the hands of the same person. You're Ji Yufei? The leading quasi-supremacy stared at Ji Yufei and said coldly. Chapter 42-33. Patriarch Li Yuan of the celestial humans was the senior of Yinfeng and Leng Dian, the two half-step ancestors. He had always thought highly of Yinfeng and Leng Dian, believing that they could become quasi-supremes. Unfortunately, the two of them were killed, and the murderer even came to Celestial City. Patriarch Li Yuan and the others were shocked. After receiving Yi Xiao's message, he immediately left the ancestral land of the celestial humans with his 8 subordinates. In Celestial City, Ji Yufei did not want to talk nonsense with Patriarch Li Yuan at all. He immediately threw a punch at Patriarch Li Yuan. Rumble, a terrifying and monstrous power erupted from Ji Yufei's fist, causing the entire world to tremble. Even ancestor Li Yuan's expression changed when he saw that punch. Seal. Patriarch Li Yuan roared and formed a seal with both hands. Buzz. The space in front of Patriarch Li Yuan trembled as if it was about to freeze. Boom. Ji Yufei's fist force directly bombarded Patriarch Li Yuan's sealing power. In the next moment, the void in front of Patriarch Li Yuan exploded. What? Patriarch Li Yuan was shocked to see that. He quickly waved his hand and took the 8 experts behind him away. In the next moment, Patriarch Li Yuan was sent flying by the mighty fist force. Blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Let the killing begin. Ji Yufei's voice was extremely cold and emotionless. He threw a second punch. At that moment, Patriarch Li Yuan was extremely shocked. He was actually sent flying by a punch from this little guy. It was hard to imagine. How was this possible? He was a quasi-supremes, but he was no match for a holy venerate. With Patriarch Li Yuan's quasi-supremes cultivation, he could naturally sense Ji Yufei's cultivation. Moreover, Ji Yufei did not deliberately hide his cultivation. Ji Yufei struck out with the extremity-breaking fist. This was an invincible battle skill that he had created when he became a paragon. With a single punch, his strength instantly broke through the limit. If Patriarch Li Yuan had not sealed the void in front of him in advance to block Ji Yufei's attack, Ji Yufei's punch would have blown him up. Patriarch Li Yuan was unable to withstand Ji Yufei's second punch. Bam! With a dull thud, Patriarch Li Yuan exploded from Ji Yufei's punch. Everyone was shocked to the extreme when they witnessed this scene. Even ancestor Li Yuan isn't a match for this fellow. Doesn't that mean that this fellow is invincible in the mortal dimension? At this time, Yi Xiao, the city lord of Skyman City, and Chu Tianquang, the head of the Chu family, looked at the scene in disbelief. They never expected Ji Yufei to be so powerful. Patriarch Li Yuan was a quasi-supremes of the celestial humans. However, such a powerful existence was blown up by Ji Yufei with just 2 punches. At this time, the mass of blood light suddenly converged, and a figure appeared. Violent power spread from the figure, shaking the world. Patriarch Li Yuan was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. He had never been in such a sorry state since he became a quasi-supremes. You can die now. Patriarch Li Yuan charged at Ji Yufei as he spoke. He was like a fireball, and the scorching power of fire shook the heavens and the earth. The celestial humans had a talent that other races did not have. The celestial bloodline was extremely powerful. Patriarch Li Yuan cultivated the sacred body of fire. With a single thought, he could summon mighty divine fire, burning the void silently. It was absolutely terrifying. Heaven Transformation Palm. Ji Yufei did not hesitate and used the Heaven Transformation Palm right away. He could feel the Yuan Qi in his body rapidly being consumed. Coupled with the 2 punches he had thrown out earlier, Ji Yufei felt a sense of emptiness within him, as if he was about to collapse. He had to open up his inner world and draw in the essence of the world to replenish his Yuan Qi. Buzz. The space in front of Ji Yufei trembled as the space in front of him was destroyed. The boundless fire Qi was also about to dissipate within the space, being turned into the most primal essence. Ji Yufei did not waste it. While drawing on the power of the world in his inner world, he also devoured the essence around him. At that moment, Patriarch Li Yuan was pressed to the ground by the Heaven Transformation Palm. The power of fire on his body was constantly being absorbed. Patriarch Li Yuan's shock was not to be underestimated. He tried his best to use his power to break the seal of the heaven transformation palm, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not shake the power of the seal. How is this possible? Yi Xiao and the others were completely stunned. Kill. At that moment, Yi Xiao made his move. The City Lord of Heaven City activated the power of the protective formation of Heaven City. 9 beams of holy light came from all directions. Yi Xiao grabbed the 9 beams of holy light in his hand and turned them into a peerless heavenly sword. Whoosh! The 9 beams of holy light cut through the void and instantly landed on top of Ji Yufei's head. The sword qi was vast and mighty, as if it could destroy the world with a single strike. Yi Xiao had been preparing for this thunderous attack for a long time. He was waiting for the moment when Ji Yufei let his guard down so that he could kill Ji Yufei with a single strike. However, a faint layer of divine light appeared on Ji Yufei's body. It was the light of eternity. Ji Yufei had no intention of dodging at all. He allowed the peerless sword light to fall. The sword light dissipated as soon as it came into contact with the divine light. This, Yi Xiao was completely dumbfounded. That was the strongest attack he could use, but it could not even break through his opponent's defense. He did not know that while the light of eternity around Ji Yufei was weak, it was a power even more powerful than the divine light of ultimate path. While the protective formation of Heaven City was powerful, it could not break through the light of eternity around Ji Yufei's body. At that moment, the spectators were also dumbfounded. Ji Yufei suddenly turned around and grabbed at Yi Xiao with his left hand. Yi Xiao felt his body tighten, and he flew toward Ji Yufei involuntarily. Roar! Yi Xiao was scared out of his wits. He desperately tried to escape. However, it was all in vain. Ji Yufei crushed Yi Xiao with one hand and pulled out his primordial spirit. Don't kill me. Yi Xiao's primordial spirit struggled in Ji Yufei's hand. Die. Ji Yufei did not show any mercy. He directly crushed Yi Xiao's primordial spirit. The City Lord of Heaven City had died just like that. At that moment, Chu Tianquang was scared out of his wits. He immediately fled into the distance. Ji Yufei did not attack Chu Tianquang, which allowed him to escape. If Ji Yufei had attacked, Chu Tianquang would not have been able to withstand a single blow. At that moment, Patriarch Li Yuan was in an extremely sorry state. His primordial spirit was constantly being refined. In just a few breaths' time, a small portion of his primordial spirit had been refined. It seemed that he would not be able to escape this time. Chapter 42-34. A shocking scene unfolded in the sky above Celestial City. A ball of divine light trapped a ball of divine fire. The divine fire was extremely dazzling, but the layer of divine light seemed very dim. However, it was this inconspicuous and dim divine light that trapped a divine fire that was like a sun. Patriarch Li Yuan, at this moment, countless disciples of the Celestial clan in Celestial City were shocked to the extreme when they saw this scene. Because someone was refining their ancestor alive. The so-called major forces in Celestial City did not dare to step forward, because even the City Lord of Owl City had been killed by the person in the sky. That was the City Lord of Owl City, known as the #1 expert in Celestial City. He had presided over Celestial City for countless years. No one would have thought that he would die at the hands of a nobody. Boom! Bang! Trapped in the eternal light, Patriarch Li Yuan kept attacking the seal, but to no avail. No matter how powerful he was and how powerful he was, it was useless. Rays of fire kept rushing out of Patriarch Li Yuan's body and into the eternal light, becoming a part of Ji Yufei's power. Patriarch Li Yuan's vitality was rapidly draining. It would not be long before his vitality was sucked dry and he would die. Damn it! Li Yuan was sweating profusely. He gritted his teeth and spat out a divine orb, which he threw at the eternal light. Boom! The eternal light shook with a loud noise. However, even though the eternal light was shaking violently, it still could not be broken. Ji Yufei's eternal seal was very strong. Unless it was an extreme Dao sovereign, no one would be able to break the seal. Kill. Right at this moment, a spatial rift suddenly appeared in the sky above Heaven City. In the next moment, countless battle soldiers charged out from the rift. A terrifying murderous aura immediately appeared in the sky. Every single soldier was clad in thick armor and wielded a battle spear in their hands. Divine light shone from their bodies, and runes could be faintly seen on their bodies. Countless soldiers gathered together, forming a battle formation, and the might they exuded was world-shaking. Those are the celestial soldiers of Celestial City. I have long since heard that Sky-Human City's Sky-Human battle formation can fight against a quasi-supreme. I want to see if it is really that powerful. The entire city was shaken, and countless experts of the older generation were incredibly excited. It had been a long time since the Deva army had been mobilized. I haven't seen this army for 500 years. An old man stood on the roof, staring at the dark clouds in the sky as he muttered to himself. Rumble. Wherever the battle matrix passed by, the space between heaven and earth was crushed. Amidst the endless divine light, a terrifying figure stood up. It was not a living being with flesh and blood, it was only a phantom. However, as soon as this phantom appeared, even the stars in the sky trembled. Seeing this, Jiyu Fei couldn't help frowning. This kind of method seemed familiar. Using the bloodline to combine with the formation to draw a trace of the ancient ancestor's power. This was borrowing the power of the Celestial Clan's ancient ancestor to fight against Jiyu Fei. The Celestial Clan's ancient ancestor was naturally a peerless existence. A trace of his power was naturally enough to kill a quasi-supreme without a problem. Boom! The vague figure stepped out of the battle matrix and threw a punch at Jiyu Fei. When the phantom punched, the world seemed like it was going to collapse. Everyone in Celestial City looked at the scene in the sky in astonishment. So the legend is true. The Celestial Man formation can really draw the power of the Celestial Clan's ancient ancestor. The Celestial Clan is really heaven-defying. The experts of the major forces were a bit dumbfounded. One should know that this kind of method was really unimaginable. Most importantly, the Celestial Clan had done it. Boom! Jiyu Fei also threw a punch, but this time, he was forced back 10 steps. Chem! An old man sitting cross-legged in the Celestial Man battle matrix suddenly opened his eyes. His gaze pierced through the void and landed directly on Jiyu Fei. Little guy, I didn't expect you to be so strong that you could withstand a blow from the ancient ancestor. The old man's voice directly rang in Jiyu Fei's mind. This is just the power of the bloodline. Don't try to act mysterious in front of me. Jiyu Fei said indifferently. The old man was extremely shocked. He never thought that the black-robed young man would be able to see through the Celestial Man battle matrix with a single glance. The Phantom's attack just now was enough to kill an ordinary quasi-supreme, but Jiyu Fei was only forced back 10 steps. 10 steps. At this time, Jiyu Fei's aura continued to rise. He was continuously refining the ancient ancestor's power, turning it into his own. His cultivation continued to rise. At this time, his cultivation had already broken through to the mid-level of the Holy Venerate and was heading towards the great success Holy Venerate. If he were to successfully squeeze the ancient ancestor dry, his cultivation would probably return to the quasi-supreme level. Even if he couldn't return to the quasi-supreme level, he would at least be able to return to the peak of the Holy Venerate. Take a punch from me too. Jiyu Fei clenched his right hand and threw a punch at the Celestial Man battle matrix. His punch shook the entire world. In an instant, the power of the punch had already surpassed the Holy Venerate realm. When Jiyu Fei's punch was halfway through, the power of the punch had already surpassed the Holy Venerate realm and reached the quasi-supreme level. How is this possible? The old man in the Celestial Man battle matrix was truly shocked when he sensed the power that erupted from Jiyu Fei's body. The moment Jiyu Fei's punch was completely unleashed, the power of Jiyu Fei's punch was completely unleashed. This was the extreme breaking fist that Jiyu Fei had cultivated, a punch that broke through one's limits. A punch that broke through the limits and killed a quasi-supreme. Jiyu Fei's punch could definitely kill a quasi-supreme. Even if one had unparalleled magical powers and unparalleled techniques, it would still be difficult to block such a powerful force. A punch that broke through all magical powers. Without any suspense, Jiyu Fei's punch directly broke through the power of the Celestial Man battle matrix. In the next moment, The phantom formed by the celestial man battle matrix dissipated in the void. The terrifying pressure also disappeared. Countless cultivators in Celestial City breathed a sigh of relief. A cloud of blood suddenly burst out from the celestial man battle matrix. The entire battle matrix had a huge hole created by Ji Yufei's punch, and countless soldiers were instantly killed. With just a punch, Ji Yufei had destroyed the celestial man battle matrix that the celestial clan was so proud of. This punch was too shocking. All the cultivators in the city were dumbfounded, as if they were in a dream. Chapter 42-35. Patriarch Li Yuan of the Celestial Humans was truly unlucky to have encountered a freak like Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei suppressed him with the power of eternity and refined his cultivation. Patriarch Li Yuan had become extremely old by then. More than 80% of his cultivation had been refined, which directly shook his foundation. Meanwhile, Ji Yufei's cultivation had skyrocketed. He had broken through to the greater success of the Holy Sovereign Realm, and was on his way to the peak of the Holy Sovereign Realm. Damn it! Patriarch Li Yuan roared furiously at the sky. In the next moment, he crushed a talisman. The moment he crushed the talisman, a figure that seemed to have been sitting there since the beginning of time suddenly opened his eyes in the ancestral ground of the celestial humans. Li Yuan, the figure disappeared on the spot without a trace. Ji Yufei displayed his invincible battle prowess in the sky above Celestial City. Countless experts in Celestial City bowed their heads. Even the celestial humans' battle formation that the celestial humans were so proud of was almost shattered by a single punch. The old man in the eye of the celestial humans' battle formation also suffered a great impact. A trace of blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth, and his entire body became exhausted. Ji Yufei had almost destroyed the celestial humans' battle formation with a single punch. Although the formation was still operating, its power was naturally greatly reduced. The celestial humans' battle formation could no longer attract the power of the ancient ancestors. Just when Patriarch Li Yuan was in despair, the void above Celestial City suddenly shattered. A figure stepped out of the shattered void. "Save me, Patriarch." Li Yuan was extremely excited when he saw that person. Everyone was shocked to hear that. Li Yuan's seniority in the celestial humans was already very high, yet he still called that person Patriarch. Everyone was shocked at that thought. The person glanced at Patriarch Li Yuan, who was trapped in the eternal light, and did not say anything. His eyes then fell on Ji Yufei. "Fellow cultivator, how about showing mercy?" The person said indifferently. "Haha, showing mercy?" Ji Yufei laughed. "What are you laughing at?" The man was still expressionless. "You asked me to be merciful, but have you ever been merciful to my daughter?" Ji Yufei sneered. "Your daughter? Is there some kind of misunderstanding?" Hearing this, the man was startled. As expected, it seemed like his clansmen had offended this person, causing him to kill his way to their doorstep. Ji Yufei snorted coldly. With a wave of his right hand, a spatial crack immediately appeared in the void. In the next moment, a figure walked out of the spatial crack. "It's you." The moment that person walked out, Patriarch Li Yuan, who was trapped in the eternal light, was shocked. This person was none other than Ji Yufei's daughter, Ji Lingham. How did the lofty Patriarch Li Yuan, who said he would suppress me for 10,000 years, end up in such a sorry state? Ji Ling was delighted to see the old Patriarch Li Yuan. You. Patriarch Li Yuan almost spat out a mouthful of blood. "So this is your daughter, a fire spirit body. Since she's fine, why don't we just forget about the misunderstanding between your clans?" The patriarch of the celestial human tribe said calmly. "Forget about it just because you say so?" Ji Ling was displeased. Back then, Patriarch Li Yuan had chased her for 30 million miles, and she had almost been captured by him. Even though she managed to escape with Zhao Hao and the others, she was severely injured and had not been well. She had only fully recovered now, and her cultivation seemed to have improved slightly. "Patriarch Tianluo, this little girl stole our ancestral medicine. We can't let her go." Patriarch Li Yuan glared at Ji Ling and said fiercely. "What?" Hearing this, the ancestor Tianluo's expression changed for the first time. The celestial human tribe had produced an extreme celestial being before. The ancestral medicine of the tribe was an immortal medicine that grew in a secret herb garden of the celestial human tribe. The ancestral medicine was stolen? You're only telling me now? Patriarch Tianluo was furious. The ancestral medicine that the celestial human tribe had been guarding for countless years had been stolen. This was a big deal. With the ancestral medicine, the celestial human tribe could produce a powerful cultivator in every generation. This would ensure that the celestial human tribe would not be destroyed by other powerful forces. I didn't steal your ancestral medicine. Don't you dare slander me. Jiyu Ling was enraged. We can't let this go on. Patriarch Tianluo's eyes darkened. They looked like two black holes that could devour everything. The moment he looked at Jiyu Ling's eyes actually became perplexed. How dare you? Jiyu Fei roared and waved his right hand. An invisible force rushed out of his hand and slashed the space between Jiyu Ling and Patriarch Tianluo. In the next second, Jiyu Ling's body shook and she came to her senses. Why don't you find out who I am? How dare you slander my daughter for stealing your ancestral medicine? Jiyu Fei said disdainfully. Oh, who are you? I'd like to know. Patriarch Tianluo said. At that moment, the surroundings were dead silent. Only the rumbling of the sky could be heard from time to time. The alien tribes were attacking the 4 heavenly gates, trying to invade the primordial ancestral planet. In fact, many cultivators from the soaring dragon ancestral planet had come to the primordial ancestral planet, and they had all heard of Jiyu Fei's legend. This was especially true for the experts from the southern wasteland of the soaring dragon ancestral star. They had slaughtered their way to the Primeval ancestral star and were extremely domineering. However, when they encountered Gulling, they were extremely courteous. Patriarch Li Yuan had also heard that Jiyu Ling's father was an incredible cultivator, but he didn't pay much attention to it. He thought that no matter how powerful Jiyu Ling's father was, he was only one person. How could he possibly fight against the entire celestial human tribe? My name is Jiyu Fei. Jiyu Fei placed his hands behind his back and said, Jiyu Fei? Never heard of him. Patriarch Tianluo shook his head. What? He's the legendary #1 savage of the soaring dragon ancestral planet. Legend has it that he once trampled on the demon forefather and punched the ruler of a forbidden land. Didn't he disappear? Why is he here in the primordial ancestral planet? There were many experts from the soaring dragon ancestral star in Deva City, and they were all shocked. The name Jiyu Fei had once shaken the entire soaring dragon ancestral star. Back in the day, Jiyu Fei had suppressed countless experts in the soaring dragon ancestral star and swept across the entire planet, almost invincible. The news of Jiyu Fei's return had yet to reach the primordial ancestral planet, but the soaring dragon ancestral planet was already in an uproar. Many old monsters and antiques that had not shown themselves for a long time had come out. Everyone and every force was extremely nervous. But when they learned that Jiyu Fei had left the soaring dragon ancestral planet, everyone and every force breathed a sigh of relief. The #1 savage of the soaring dragon ancestral planet. Chapter 4236. Patriarch Tianluo of the celestial humans was a super antique who had lived for countless years. He hadn't come out for a very long time. If it wasn't for Patriarch Li Yuan's message for help, he wouldn't have come out. Li Yuan was his direct descendant. Moreover, Patriarch Li Yuan was very resourceful. He managed the celestial humans in an orderly manner, which allowed him to cultivate in seclusion and focus on improving his cultivation. Li Yuan couldn't die. His death would be a great loss to the celestial humans. The fiercest man of the soaring dragon ancestral star? Do you think you're Xianhuang? Patriarch Tianluo said disdainfully. The soaring dragon ancestral star had produced a great ferocious being countless years ago. He was from the same clan as Patriarch Tianluo, a celestial born from heaven and earth. Xianhuang was a celestial born from the Xianhuang Qi of heaven and earth. He was so powerful that he once dominated an entire era. Even in the current era, Xuanhuang's influence was still shocking. Some people said that the great ferocious being would return in this era. But so many years had passed, and the Great Ferocious being only appeared during the Battle of the Heavenly Market. Since then, he had disappeared without a trace. Xian Huang? I'd like to spar with him. Ji Yufei said seriously. TSK, you think you're qualified to spar with Xian Huang? Patriarch Li Yuan, who was trapped in Ji Yufei's eternal light, sneered. At this time, his whole body was extremely weak. Ji Yufei was about to suck all the true qi in his body dry. Once his true qi was sucked dry by Ji Yufei, he would die. Die. Ji Yufei grabbed at Patriarch Li Yuan, who was trapped in the eternal light. How dare you? Patriarch Qianluo was enraged. His eyes flashed and two blades of light shot out of his eyes, slashing at Ji Yufei. It was an eye technique that was so powerful that it could cut through the void and kill a quasi-supremacy. However, Ji Yufei merely waved his hand, and the two light blades that were slashing down shattered in the void. At the same time, Patriarch Li Yuan, who was trapped in the eternal light, screamed and exploded into a mist of blood. Strands of essence rushed out of the mist of blood and were assimilated by the surrounding eternal light. This was the last bit of Patriarch Li Yuan's essence. Ji Yufei devoured it completely. Even his soul did not manage to escape. It was reduced to the most primitive essence, which Ji Yufei devoured directly. Raw. Seeing this, Ancestor Qianluo felt like he was going crazy. He threw his head back and let out a roar. Terrifying sound waves spread out, shaking the entire heaven and earth. Countless cultivators in Heaven City were shocked. Those with weaker cultivations were even knocked unconscious by the sound waves. You deserve to die. No one can save you now. Ancestor Qianluo glared at Ji Yufei and roared. Haha, you're really funny. Do we need someone else to save us? Ji Yuling laughed. In her eyes, her father was invincible, a mountain that no one could surpass. She did not think that this so-called patriarch of the Celestial clan was a match for her father. Kill. Ancestor Qianluo did not waste any more words. He attacked Ji Yufei right away. He waved his right hand and an endless amount of divine light descended from the sky and pierced through Ji Yufei. He could use the power of heaven and earth at will. This was the talent of the Celestial clan. They were naturally close to the power of heaven and earth. At Ancestor Qianluo's level of cultivation, he had already reached the level of being one with nature. In his eyes, only the power of heaven and earth could be used by him. It was as if the entire world was fighting against Ji Yufei. Although saints and above could suppress the power of heaven, the power of heaven and earth was extremely strong. The more perfect the world was, the stronger the power of heaven and earth. The mortal world was originally a perfect and flawless world. After the great chaos of the ancient times, the heavens fell and the earth split apart, causing the mortal world to no longer be complete. In order to truly transcend this world, one would need the power of a quasi-sovereign. Boom. In the next moment, Ji Yufei's body trembled and a powerful wave of energy exploded from his body. After devouring Ancestor Li Yuan's power, his cultivation had increased again. He was at the peak of the holy sovereign level. He was only one step away from the quasi-sovereign level. If he devoured this guy, he would be able to break through from the peak of the holy sovereign level to the quasi-sovereign level. In Ji Yufei's eyes, Ancestor Qianluo had become a human-shaped medicine. At this moment, countless rays of divine light descended from the sky and landed directly on Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei did not move, allowing the divine lights that could pierce through the void to land on him. In the next moment, the divine lights shattered and turned into specks of light that disappeared into the void. What? Ancestor Qianluo and the people he brought with him were dumbfounded. This guy actually resisted the power of heaven and earth with his body. Just how strong is his physique? By then, Ancestor Qianluo's subordinates had surrounded Ji Yuling. Every one of the 8 experts was at the level of an old antique. Their cultivation was strong, and they had rich battle experience. Every one of them was an overlord in their own right. They followed Ancestor Li Yuan and took orders from him. But after Ancestor Li Yuan's death, they only listened to Ancestor Qianluo. In fact, the 8 experts of the Celestial clan were Ancestor Qianluo's subordinates. The weakest among them was a low-level holy sovereign. The others were mid-level holy sovereigns, greater success, and even peak holy sovereigns. There was even one person who had already taken that step. That was a half-step quasi-supreme being. Are you trying to bully me with numbers? Ji Ling glanced at the 8 and said coldly. Every one of them had an extraordinary bearing. Just by standing there, they were like mountains, giving off a strong sense of oppression. Me. Little girl, hand over my clan's ancestral medicine. Otherwise, you'll regret living in this world. The leader of the group, a middle-aged man with a pale face, glared at Ji Ling and said coldly, "How many times do you want me to repeat myself? I didn't take your ancestral medicine." Ji Ling was furious. It seemed like she had fallen into someone's trap. Who was it? Could it be one of her father's enemies? Ji Fei had fought all over the world and offended a lot of people. Be it the human world or the heavenly world, he had many enemies, and they were all extremely strong. Since they couldn't do anything to Ji Fei, they naturally wanted to find trouble with Ji Fei's daughter. If it wasn't for Ji Ling's Emperor Divine Mace, she might have really died in the hands of ancestor Li Yuan. The mastermind in the dark wanted to use the Celestial Clan to kill Ji Ling. However, it was a pity that Ji Fei's appearance had ruined their plan. Good, very good, very good. Chapter 42-37. This was the first time in the last 10,000 years that the Celestial Clan had been invaded by someone. There were only a few superforces on the primordial ancestral star, and the Celestial Clan was one of the strongest forces on the planet. No matter who won this battle, it was not a good thing for the Celestial Clan. Boom. Bam. Two figures moved quickly in the sky, fighting intensely. The shockwaves from their battle spread out in all directions, causing cracks to appear in the space around them. Both Ji Fei and Ancestor Tian Luo could easily tear the space apart. Ancestor Tian Luo was much stronger than Ancestor Li Yuan. He was a true quasi-honorable. Haha, finally, I can have a good fight. Ji Fei laughed and continued to attack. His fists were wide open, and no matter what skills Ancestor Tian Luo used, he broke them all with a single punch. Ancestor Tian Luo was shocked. From this guy, Ancestor Tian Luo could see the shadow of a person. A powerful and terrifying existence. The thought of that person made Ancestor Tian Luo's heart palpitate. Bam! At this moment, Ji Fei's punch broke through Ancestor Tian Luo's defense and landed on him. In the next second, Ancestor Tian Luo's body shone with a divine light and blocked Ji Fei's punch. However, Ji Fei's punch was extremely powerful. Although he didn't use the extremity breaker fist, it wasn't something that just anyone could block. Ancestor Tian Luo was sent flying thousands of miles away by Ji Fei's punch, almost crashing into the force field formed by the Guardian formation of the primordial ancestral star. Damn it! Ancestor Tian Luo was shocked and angered. He did not expect Ji Fei's body to be this strong. If he wasn't wearing the Heavenly Saint battle armor, his celestial sacred body would have been shattered by that punch. The Heavenly Saint battle armor was the ultimate treasure of the Celestial Clan. It was a battle armor that was personally crafted by the Celestial Clan's ancestor. This was the source of the Celestial race's confidence. Without the Celestial race's extreme Dao Saint weapon, the Celestial race would have been annihilated countless times over. Kill. Without any hesitation, Ancestor Tian Luo used his trump card. A beam of light shot down from the sky towards Ji Fei. When that divine rainbow appeared, all the living beings in the world trembled. Even holy venerables were terrified to the extreme, and the expressions of quasi-supremes changed. The true power of the heavenly way, he actually attracted the power of the heavenly way. Some of the super old-timers cried out in alarm. The heavenly Tao energy was the strongest energy in this world. Since old ancestor Tian Luo was able to attract the heavenly Tao energy, it seemed like he wasn't far from reaching the extreme supreme realm. Heavenly Tao? Ji Fei didn't think much of it. He had once transcended the entire world, thoroughly trampling the heavenly Tao beneath his feet. Although his cultivation had fallen from his eternal stratum, he still didn't fear the heavenly Tao. Although his eternal martial body had not fully recovered, it was not something that could be erased by the power of the heavenly Tao. Just in time. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Ji Fei actually opened his arms and welcomed the nirvanic divine rainbow that descended from the sky. Is he out of his mind? Everyone was shocked by what they saw. Why didn't this guy block the nirvanic divine rainbow? Does he want to die? However, in the next moment, everyone's eyeballs almost fell to the ground. They saw the nirvanic divine rainbow land on Ji Fei's body. However, the nirvanic divine rainbow only flashed for a moment before disappearing, as if it was never there in the first place. The terrifying aura that filled the sky also disappeared in an instant. What's going on? Why isn't he dead? What did I just see? What a badass. He actually used his flesh and blood to resist the power of the heavenly Tao. The entire Heavenman city was dead silent. Everyone raised their heads to look at the figure in the sky. Father. Although Ji Ling was nervous, she was also very confident in her father. This monster. The 8 experts under Ancestor Tianluo stared at Ji Fei in shock. They had never seen anyone who could use their flesh and blood to resist the power of the heavenly Tao. That was the power of the heavenly Tao. After devouring the power, Ji Fei felt as if he had been reborn. His cultivation instantly broke through to the Demisupreme Being level. He had 1 foot in the Demisupreme Being level. This feels great. Ji Fei was intoxicated. Ancestor Tianluo was dumbfounded. Swoosh. Before he could recover from the shock, Ji Fei's figure had already appeared in front of him, and a fist directly smashed towards him. Damn it! Ancestor Tianluo was shocked. He could only raise his palm to meet the attack. His opponent's speed was too fast, so fast that he could not even dodge it. Bam! Catcher! The sound of bones breaking and the sound of impact were heard at the same time. Ancestor Tianluo retreated. His right arm was bent at a weird angle. It was broken. What? Everyone who witnessed this scene was shocked to the extreme. Old Ancestor Tianluo was the strongest old ancestor of the celestial beings, and yet his arm was broken by a single attack. How is this guy so powerful? Someone exclaimed. Even the demi-supreme being Ancestor Tianluo was no match for this young man in black. What should we do? The 8 experts surrounding Ji Ling did not dare to be too presumptuous at this time. Take her down. The 8 experts were telepathic. They wanted to capture Ji Ling and use her to threaten Ji Fei. The 8 experts no longer cared about bullying the weak with numbers. They attacked at the same time, their powers instantly sealing the entire space. Ji Ling directly slashed out with her sword. The extremely sharp sword chi of fire suddenly burst out, fiercely chopping at the sealing power of the 8 experts. Buzz! The void trembled. The might of Ji Ling's sword had only caused the void to tremble slightly. What? Ji Ling was shocked. Chumph, the 8 of us together can fight a demi-supreme being. You think you're stronger than one? The pale-faced middle-aged man said with a sneer. You can fight a demi-supreme being? Ji Ling was taken aback upon hearing this. She was strong, but she was only a holy master. Even if she used the Emperor's divine mace, she could only protect herself. Of course, if she wanted to fight with her life, she could drag a few of them down with her. The problem was, she did not want to die. She did not want to exchange her life with these people. Her life was much more precious than these people's. Just as Ji Ling was about to be captured by the 8 experts, a beam of sword light descended from the sky. It broke through the 8 experts' power and landed in front of Ji Ling. Chapter 4238. Ji Ling was surrounded by the 8 powerful cultivators under Ancestor Tianluo. Among the 8, the weakest was a beginner-level holy master and the strongest was a half-step sovereign. These 8 powerful cultivators could fight against a quasi-sovereign if they worked together. Even though Ji Ling had a fire elemental martial body and had few opponents of the same level, these 8 powerful cultivators were too powerful. Just as Ji Ling was about to be captured by the 8 powerful cultivators, a ray of sword light descended from the sky and broke through the power of the 8 powerful cultivators. It charged into the encirclement and floated in front of Ji Ling. This is, when the 8 powerful beings of the heavenly human clan caught sight of this, they were truly taken aback. Buzz! The moment Ji Ling held onto the sword, a terrifying sword chi exploded from the sword. The 8 powerful cultivators were forced to retreat. Countless pitch-black spatial cracks appeared in the void. The holy venerate with the weakest cultivation let out a miserable shriek. He was actually sliced into pieces by the invisible sword chi. Even his primordial spirit was destroyed. His body and soul were both destroyed. The remaining 7 powerful cultivators were shocked and quickly used their techniques to defend against the invisible sword chi. Blood-curdling screams and cries of alarm rang out incessantly. The remaining 7 experts all had injuries on their bodies. Their clothes were tattered and blood was even seeping out of them. A tall, skinny, middle-aged cultivator with a sallow face was hit by an invisible sword chi. His skin split open and his clothes were dyed red. Even his bones were exposed. He was almost cut in half by the invisible sword chi. The worst part was that the sword chi invaded his body and it was hard for him to heal. "Let's go." The leader of the group ordered a retreat. That divine sword was too powerful. Jiyu Ling had only just grasped the sword, yet she had already killed one of them. These 8 powerful cultivators had followed ancestor Tian Luo and fought everywhere. They had killed all the cultivators on the ancestral planet. But today, one of their brothers had died here. It was such an unjust death. "Chimenpate, you want to leave?" Without any hesitation, Jiyu Ling slashed out with her sword. An extremely sharp sword light immediately rushed out from the divine sword. Whoosh! With a flash of the sword light, the 7 experts were sliced in half at the waist. Killing 7 heroes with one sword. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene. The power of this sword was too strong. It was just one sword, and it killed 7 powerful cultivators. Roar! The pale-faced middle-aged man roared at the sky, wanting to reconnect his broken body. However, in the next moment, his body quickly turned into dust, starting from the wound. In the end, even his head turned into dust, and his soul dispersed as he breathed his last. All of the disciples of the celestial clan in Heaven City were stupefied by this scene. Those 8 experts were all half-martial ancestor-level existences. Yet, they were killed by a single sword strike just like that. No one dared to believe what they were seeing. What's going on? What sword is that? It's so powerful. Could it be the legendary human emperor's sword? Someone exclaimed. There were 2 famous swords in the mortal world. One was the Grand Orient sword of the Dongfang clan in the eastern region of the Soaring Dragon Ancestral Star, and the other was Jiyu Fei's violet gold divine sword. The 2 great swords had once dominated an era. Die! At that moment, ancestor Tian Luo, who was fighting with Jiyu Fei, pointed a finger at Jiyu Ling and sent a beam of divine light at him. Me. Jiyu Ling sneered and swung his divine sword horizontally. The beam of divine light hit the body of the divine sword and exploded. Jiyu Ling felt a powerful force coming from the divine sword, and he was sent flying backward. The hand holding the sword was numb, and the sword almost flew out of his hand. This guy is really strong. Jiyu Ling was shocked. Ancestor Tian Luo was a super antique, and whether he admitted it or not, the old man was just a little stronger than him. Bang! Just as ancestor Tian Luo was about to attack Jiyu Ling, Jiyu Fei's fist landed on ancestor Tian Luo's left shoulder. In the next moment, ancestor Tian Luo was sent flying. The clothes at the place where he was hit instantly exploded into pieces, revealing the celestial battle suit underneath. What? Ancestor Tian Luo looked down and was shocked. There was a faint fist mark on the place where he was hit. This was the celestial clan's treasure, the celestial battle armor. How could this guy leave a fist mark on the celestial battle armor? How dare you get distracted while fighting with me? You're courting death. Jiyu Fei looked at ancestor Tian Luo with indifference. Who are you? Ancestor Tian Luo stared at Jiyu Fei and asked in a deep voice. Didn't I tell you? My name is Jiyu Fei. Jiyu Fei said with a faint smile. The fiercest man in the Tenglong continent. Ancestor Tian Luo suddenly remembered what the people in the celestial city had said. Come, let's fight again. Jiyu Fei took a step forward and appeared in front of ancestor Tian Luo in an instant. He threw a punch at ancestor Tian Luo. It looked like an ordinary punch, but it was heaven-defying. Ancestor Tianluo was sent flying again. Ji Yufei's punches were getting more and more powerful. His fist intent was invincible, but his punches were ordinary. He wanted to create an invincible punching skill. With one punch, he could break any spell. Roar! Ancestor Tianluo roared. The power of a quasi-supreme being exploded from his body. The whole world shook, and cracks appeared in the space around him. It was as if the world could no longer contain a quasi-supreme being like him. Ji Yufei was using Ancestor Tianluo to practice his punching skills. It was hard for him to find an opponent that was on par with him. He didn't even need to use much strength to defeat the previous opponents. Boom! Bam! Ji Yufei punched again and again. Every time he punched, a different kind of energy exploded from his fist. It was simple and direct, but it shook the whole world. I'm still missing something. Ji Yufei practiced and improved his punching skill at the same time. This kind of invincible fist intent was hard to master. It was not easy to comprehend the complete fist intent. Ji Yufei knew that this punching skill couldn't be created in a day. It needed to be tested in real combat, especially in a life and death battle. Father is trying to comprehend this punching skill at this time? When Ji Yuling saw his father unleashing such a set of fist techniques, he was immediately attracted by the invincible fist intent that was pressing forward with an indomitable will. At this time, no one dared to attack Ji Yuling anymore. The scene of her killing 7 heroes with one sword strike had shocked everyone in the Celestial City. Chapter 4239. With a sword in hand, Ji Yuling looked down at the city. No one dared to step forward. All the disciples of the Celestial clan were enraged. They could only watch helplessly as their half-step ancestor was killed by Ji Yuling. In the world of cultivation, the strong preyed on the weak. They hated themselves for being too weak to compete with such a high and mighty existence. Boom! Suddenly, Ancestor Tianluo unleashed his power. He activated the Celestial Battle Armor. In the next second, countless Dao patterns emerged on the armor and interweaved into a Dao pattern. The Celestial Battle Armor not only had amazing defense, but it was also a powerful weapon. Buzz! An aura of the extreme Dao spread out from the Celestial Battle Armor. However, at this moment, the sky changed color, and the sun and moon lost their light. An aura that was even more powerful and terrifying than the aura of extreme grade descended from the sky. It was as if a terrifying existence had been awakened in the depths of the sky. Preposterous! Ancestor Tianluo looked up at the sky and reluctantly stopped activating the Celestial Battle Armor. The aura of the extreme Dao from the Celestial Battle Armor immediately disappeared. Haha, you want to use the power of the extreme Dao in the presence of the heavenly punishment? Ji Yufei laughed. He was happy to see Ancestor Tianluo activate the Celestial Battle Armor. He did not stop him because he knew that the power of the extreme Dao could not appear in the human world. The heavenly punishment would not allow the power of the extreme Dao to appear. Once the power of the extreme Dao appeared, the heavenly punishment would be activated. It was a supreme power that could kill an extreme Dao Supreme. No extreme Dao Supreme would dare to show up in the human world. I can kill you without using the power of the extreme Dao. Ancestor Tianluo sneered. Is that so? Then what are you waiting for? Come and kill me. Ji Yufei shrugged. Little bastard, kill. Ancestor Tianluo roared and was about to attack. Little bastard, who do you want to kill? Ji Yufei said with a faint smile. Roar. Ancestor Tianluo was about to lose his mind. He slammed his palm towards Ji Yufei and a ball of divine light appeared in his palm. It was as blinding as a sun. Is this the golden sun palm of the celestial human tribe? An expert of the older generation exclaimed. A horrifying energy surged out from Ancestor Tianluo's palm. It was the purest of yang energy, indestructible and indestructible. The void around Ji Yufei began to vibrate. The power of the golden sun surged and the void became very unstable, as if it could collapse at any time. Holding the golden sun in his hand, Ancestor Tianluo exuded an invincible aura. You have some ability, but it's still not enough. Ji Yufei punched out. It was an ordinary punch, Not a single trace of energy was emitted from it. However, Ancestor Tian Luo's golden sun palm was broken. Bam! In the next moment, the fist and the palm collided. The surrounding space instantly shattered, and a huge black hole appeared in the sky above Heaven City. Everyone was indescribably shocked. Existences of this level were truly terrifying. If it weren't for Sky Human City's great defensive formations blocking off the terrifying pressure descending from the sky, many more people would have died in the city. One had to know that not everyone could withstand the pressure that erupted from a quasi-supreme being. Roar! Ji Yufei roared. He shook his right arm and an even more powerful force exploded from his fist. What? Ancestor Tian Luo was shocked. He didn't expect his opponent to still have some energy left. Without thinking, he shook his right palm, and the sun-like divine light in the center of his palm exploded, releasing an even stronger force. The two forces instantly collided together, and the two figures could not help but retreat violently. Kill! Ancestor Tian Luo was going all out. Countless rays of sword light shot out from his body. Each ray of sword light was like a heavenly rainbow, piercing through the void. Terrifying fire elemental energy exploded. The entire world looked like it was on fire. The world of the human world was not as stable as the heavenly realm. A quasi-supreme being was definitely a terrifying existence that could destroy the world. Haha, good. Come at me. Ji Yufei laughed as he made his move. The space around him distorted and the countless fire elemental swordlights were instantly devoured by him. The energy was so strong that Ji Yufei's cultivation increased a little after he swallowed it. This move again. Ancestor Tian Luo frowned. Boom. Ji Yufei had unleashed his might. In the next moment, his figure instantly disappeared into the void, leaving no trace behind. So fast. Ancestor Tian Luo was shocked. He quickly pushed his hands out and a ball of divine light emerged from his body. Just as the divine light enveloped Ancestor Tian Luo, a fist appeared out of nowhere and smashed into the divine light behind Ancestor Tian Luo. Bam! A muffled sound was heard. Ancestor Tian Luo's divine light started to tremble. It looked like it was going to crumble at any moment. Ha! Ji Yufei's figure appeared in the void. He was surprised that this guy's protective divine light could actually block his punch. One had to know that this punch of his could even destroy an immemorial god mountain. Although it did not destroy Ancestor Tian Luo, it did send him flying for 30,000 miles. He slammed into the divine light of the primordial ancestral star and bounced back. Seeing this, all the Celestial clan members in Celestial City were terrified. Even Ancestor Tian Luo was no match for this young man in black. The Celestial clan was in big trouble. In Celestial City, Chu Tianquang, the head of the Chu clan, was on tenterhooks. If even Ancestor Tian Luo was defeated, then no one in Celestial City would be a match for Ji Yufei. If Ji Yufei took over Celestial City, then the Chu clan would be finished. Some forces in Celestial City could not sit still. Sigh. Looks like I have to use my ultimate move. Ji Yufei sighed. One punch to break the limit. Ji Yufei punched out with the Extreme Destruction Fist. The instant he punched out, nearly half of the Yuan Qi in his body was condensed in his right fist. Boom. Ancestor Tian Luo was sent flying again. This time, Ji Yufei's fist energy pierced through the celestial battle armor he was wearing, shocking him to the extreme. Ancestor Tian Luo coughed up a mouthful of blood. The celestial battle armor had neutralized more than 90% of Ji Yufei's power. Even though it was less than 10%, it was still enough to severely injure Ancestor Tian Luo's quasi-supreme divine body. The clothes you're wearing are not bad. Give them to me. Ji Yufei took a step forward and closed in once more. Damn it. Ancestor Tian Luo was shocked and angry. He retreated immediately. Not being able to use the power of the extreme Tao made him very frustrated. Chapter 4240. Ji Yufei punched out with his breaking extremity fist. This fist broke extremity, and its power was shocking. With just one punch, Ancestor Tian Luo knew that he was no match for Yi Futian. Without any suspense, Ancestor Tian Luo was blasted away again. This time, his divine body suffered another great impact, causing him to cough up blood. Damn it! Ji Fei's punch almost shattered Ancestor Tian Luo's divine body through the celestial battle armor. Even though the armor had absorbed most of the force, Ancestor Tian Luo was still injured. How is this possible? Everyone in Heaven Man City was shocked to the extreme when they saw this. That was especially true of the old-timers of the older generation. They knew where Patriarch Celestial Luo came from, and how powerful and terrifying he was in the Celestial clan. Ancestor Tian Luo's fame was built on killing. In the era of Ancestor Tian Luo, this ancestor had slaughtered countless people, causing the entire primal ancestral star to tremble. He was only half a step away from becoming an undefeatable celestial being, but unfortunately, he couldn't take that step. Some said that it was because he was too murderous. There were also people who said that he walked the killing Dao but failed. Countless years had passed, and no one knew what realm Ancestor Tian Luo's cultivation had reached. Maybe he was an extreme Dao being, or maybe he was still a quasi-supremacy. After all, Ancestor Tian Luo had lived for far too long. He was practically from the same era as the ancient ominous Xian Huang. Even if he had become an extreme supremacy, no one would know. After all, a long time had passed between that era and the present. In that short period of time, many people successfully cultivated extreme Dao fruits and became extreme Dao sovereigns. But now, Ji Fei wasn't even a quasi-supremacy, yet he was able to defeat Ancestor Tian Luo. Everyone found it hard to believe. How was this possible? A quasi-supremacy was much stronger than a heavenly sovereign. A heavenly sovereign was like an ant on the ground, while a quasi-supremacy was like a real dragon above the 9 heavens. But now, this ant, Ji Fei, had defeated a real dragon. This was beyond everyone's knowledge. Even Ji Ling was surprised and happy. Father is too amazing. Ji Ling had no choice but to admit that even if he cultivated his entire life, it would still be difficult for him to reach his father's level. To her, her father was an insurmountable mountain. Preposterous, preposterous. Ancestor Tian Luo's hair was disheveled, and his body was stained with blood. He never thought that a puny heavenly sovereign would make him look like this. Furthermore, he was wearing the Extreme Dao Celestial Battle Suit, the most precious treasure of the heavenly human tribe. Ancestor Tian Luo was frustrated that he couldn't use his Extreme Path's energy. However, he didn't know that if he could use his Extreme Path's energy, he would have been killed by Ji Fei many times. One had to know that Ji Fei had no lack of Extreme Dao treasures. Let's see how many punches you can take. After saying that, Ji Fei attacked again. He possessed the fastest footwork in the world. With just one step, he was already in front of Ancestor Tian Luo. What? Ancestor Tian Luo was shocked and wanted to retreat. However, just as he moved, Ji Fei's fist was already in front of him. It was still a punch without any energy ripples. It was still an ordinary punch. However, in Ancestor Tian Luo's eyes, this punch was invincible. Raw. Slaying all life in one glance, Ancestor Tian Luo was going all out. He even used his most powerful technique. 2 shadows rushed out from his eyes and merged together, turning into a divine saber that was covered in runes. Those runes were the most ancient and powerful Dao patterns. Countless Dao patterns intertwined with each other and turned into a divine saber that could shake the heavens and earth. Interesting. Ji Fei couldn't help but nod when he saw the saber. He didn't expect Ancestor Tian Luo to have mastered such a powerful technique. It was definitely not any weaker than a supreme being's technique. However, to say that this saber could slay all life in the world was an exaggeration. Even if it was a real supreme being's technique, and it was cast by a real supreme being, it still couldn't slay all life in the world. Boom. Ji Fei threw a punch, but this time, it was not an ordinary punch. A wave of energy exploded from his fist. The entire world was illuminated by the divine light that exploded from Ji Fei's fist. What's going on? Ancestor Tian Luo was blinded by the sudden appearance of the divine light. This was the effect that Ji Fei wanted. Boom. Ji Fei's fist landed on Ancestor Tian Luo's body in an instant. The violent fist energy exploded and Ancestor Tian Luo's clothes were shredded into pieces. The Extreme Tao Celestial Battle Robe was revealed. It looked like an ordinary silver-armored battle robe. However, it managed to block Jiyu Fei's terrifying punch that seemed capable of splitting the heavens and earth. Even though the celestial battle armor blocked Jiyu Fei's punch and absorbed most of its power, the celestial battle armor was still in hibernation. It couldn't completely block Jiyu Fei's punch. Crack. The sound of bones breaking could be heard from Ancestor Tian Luo's body. Ancestor Tian Luo's terrifying divine blade hit nothing but air. It didn't even touch the corner of Jiyu Fei's clothes. However, Ancestor Tian Luo's technique was not that simple. The moment the divine blade of annihilation missed Jiyu Fei, it made a turn in the air and continued to slash at Jiyu Fei. Jiyu Fei threw a backhand punch at the divine blade of annihilation that was slashing at him. Clang. The moment Jiyu Fei's fist collided with the divine blade of annihilation, the sound of metal clashing could be heard. It sounded like two pieces of godly metal clashing against each other. Ancestor Tian Luo, who was sent flying by Jiyu Fei's punch, was so shocked that his eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. My strongest technique was blocked by this guy's fist. That's a body of flesh and blood. Ancestor Tian Luo's divine blade of annihilation was said to be able to slay all living things in the world. Even a holy venerable Dao weapon or a quasi-supreme Dao weapon could be cut in half. Could this guy's fist be even stronger than a holy venerable Dao weapon or a quasi-supreme Dao weapon? How could a puny holy venerable's body be this strong? Ancestor Tian Luo had lived for countless months, but this was the first time he met someone with a physique so strong that it could fight against a quasi-supreme Dao weapon even though he was only a holy venerable. At this moment, Jiyu Fei was incomparably ferocious. He punched out 5 times in a row and directly shattered the peerless divine saber in the void, causing countless Dao patterns to dissipate. Chapter 42-41. At Ancestor Tian Luo's level of cultivation, the injuries on his body were not fatal. Even if he was blasted to smithereens, as long as there was a drop of blood or a strand of hair left, he could be reborn and reborn. In order to kill someone like Ancestor Tian Luo, special methods were required. Ancestor Tian Luo's eyes turned red when he saw that Jiyu Fei had destroyed the divine saber that he had cultivated for countless years. That was his most powerful skill, but it was destroyed by this guy just like that. He had once killed a demi-supreme being with this skill. Swoosh. Suddenly, Jiyu Fei appeared above Ancestor Tian Luo's head and stomped his foot down on Ancestor Tian Luo. Boom. Boom. The space beneath Jiyu Fei's feet began to vibrate. Dazzling bolts of lightning appeared under his feet. It looked like an ordinary stomp, but it was as if the entire world was going to collapse. Without any suspense, Jiyu Fei had unleashed his full power. Even Ancestor Tian Luo, who was a peak demi-supreme being, was completely subdued by him. Jiyu Fei stomped down on Ancestor Tian Luo. No matter how powerful Ancestor Tian Luo was, it was futile. Jiyu Fei stomped down on Ancestor Tian Luo, and all his skills crumbled. Even the old-timers and eccentrics were completely flabbergasted by what was happening up in the sky. No one knew better than these old fogies how powerful and terrifying Ancestor Tian Luo was. Boom. After a loud explosion, Ancestor Tian Luo crashed into a mountain 100 miles away from Heaven City. The entire mountain range shook violently, and countless mountains crumbled. Dust filled the air. Ancestor Tian Luo lost. Someone exclaimed. The disciples of the celestial clan in Heaven City were in despair. If even Ancestor Tian Luo was defeated, who else in the celestial clan could be a match for him? The celestial clan was strong, but if even Ancestor Tian Luo was defeated, the celestial clan would have no choice but to hide in their ancestral land and never come out. This was definitely a great humiliation for the celestial human tribe. At this moment, a shocking aura suddenly erupted from the ancestral ground of the celestial human clan. It was as if a terrifying supreme existence had suddenly awakened from its slumber. Rumble, heaven and earth trembled, the winds and clouds changed colors. Countless creatures were terrified to the extreme. Some of the more powerful savage beasts in the mountain range were so frightened that they collapsed to the ground, trembling in fear. Are there any experts in the celestial clan? Countless experts in the celestial city were shocked, and they all looked toward the ancestral land of the celestial clan. In the sky above the celestial race's ancestral ground, thousands of strands of auspicious chi appeared, and the divine sound of the great Tao lingered. It was as if an unparalleled supreme being had descended, and that powerful aura became more and more powerful. Boom! Just at this time, old ancestor Tian Luo, who was kicked down by Ji Yufei, broke through the ground and rushed out. Ancestor Tian Luo did not look happy when he saw the strange phenomenon above the ancestral land. Instead, he looked nervous. Buzz! At this moment, there was a rumbling sound coming from his body. Then, the celestial battle armor he was wearing disintegrated and turned into rays of light that shot toward the ancestral land. The battle armor could be separated and reattached at will. Just then, a force from the ancestral land summoned the celestial battle armor. Oh no! Ancestor Tian Luo's shock was nothing to scoff at. Without the protection of the celestial battle armor, he was no match for Ji Yufei. Whoosh! Old ancestor Tian Luo shot into the sky, trying to escape. However, there was no way Ji Yufei would miss such a rare opportunity. In the next second, he caught up with old ancestor Tian Luo. Go to hell! Seeing that Ji Yufei had caught up with him, old ancestor Tian Luo immediately attacked Ji Yufei in a frenzy. The golden sun energy of a quasi-supreme being burst out of his body. Rays of golden light pierced through Ji Yufei in an overwhelming manner. Facing such a powerful attack, Ji Yufei put his hands behind his back and strolled toward old ancestor Tian Luo. The rays of golden light disappeared when they were less than a foot away from him. He was devouring the energy around him. It was as if old ancestor Tian Luo was passing his energy to Ji Yufei. Invulnerable, you, old ancestor Tian Luo was shocked. Ji Yufei did not say anything. He punched at old ancestor Tian Luo. In the next second, old ancestor Tian Luo exploded into a mist of blood. Without the protection of the celestial battle armor, you're nothing but trash. Ji Yufei said coldly. If it wasn't for the celestial battle armor, Ji Yufei would have killed old ancestor Tian Luo many times over. The combat skills he created in the Eternal Realm were stronger than the supremacy skills. Even though his combat skill was still in its initial stage and had yet to reach completion, it was not something that old ancestor Tian Luo could compare with. Boom! In the mist of blood, a dazzling light shot up to the sky. It was old ancestor Tian Luo's Yuan Shen. His Yuan Shen was so powerful that the light it emitted was even more dazzling than the godly sun. Terrifying waves of energy rippled out from old ancestor Tian Luo's Yuan Shen, shaking the earth. Supremacy Realm? Ji Yufei was a little surprised when he saw the divine light soaring into the sky. Such a powerful primordial spirit had long surpassed the realm of quasi-supremes. Ji Yufei opened his martial Dao heavenly eye and saw that there were actually 9 Dao patterns on the ball of primordial spirit light. These 9 Dao patterns sealed the primordial spirit. Otherwise, if the power of the extreme Dao appeared in the world, it would attract the power of heaven's punishment. If he were to draw down the power of heaven's punishment, then there would only be one outcome, and that was death. There was no luck at all. On the primordial ancestral star, there was an supremacy realm expert who was overconfident and ignored the power of heaven's punishment. Therefore, when the power of heaven's punishment descended, that supremacy realm expert died. Old ancestor Tian Luo didn't think that he could withstand the power of heaven's punishment. At this time, old ancestor Tian Luo's cultivation level was finally revealed, supremacy realm. I didn't expect old ancestor Tian Luo to be a supremacy realm expert. Chu Tianquang, the head of the Chu clan, was shocked. Even though he was the head of the Chu clan, he didn't have many opportunities to meet old ancestor Tian Luo. After all, old ancestor Li Yuan was in charge of everything in the celestial clan. Supremacy realm expert? Tian Luo sure hid his strength well. In the distant sky, a powerful figure could be vaguely seen. The battle between Ji Yufei and old ancestor Tian Luo had shocked everyone. Many super antiques who were rumored to have fallen jumped out. So what if he's a supremacy realm expert? Ji Yufei said as he took out an ancient cauldron. An ancient aura immediately spread out from the ancient cauldron in his hand. Mountain and River Cauldron. Chapter 42-42. Boom. An extremely powerful soul ripple appeared in the world, and a mass of soul light rushed out of the blood fog, directly breaking the void space, wanting to escape. It was Ancestor Tianluo's primordial spirit. Even though Ancestor Tianluo's physical body was destroyed by Ji Yufei's punch, his primordial spirit did not dissipate despite the impact. This was an extreme-grade primordial spirit. Even though it was sealed by the 9 Dao runes, it was still extremely powerful. Ji Yufei may be strong, but it was difficult for him to destroy a primordial spirit of this level. Trying to escape. Ji Yufei flipped his right hand and a bronze cauldron the size of a fist appeared in his hand. It's the Mountain and River Cauldron. Ji Yuling's eyes lit up when she saw the ancient cauldron in her father's hand. She knew that her father had many extreme-grade Dao weapons. While Ji Yuling was still in shock, the ancient cauldron in Ji Yufei's hand had already shot up into the sky. In an instant, it grew to the size of a mountain, causing the sky to shake. Countless cultivators in the Heaven Human City were shocked to the core. Buzz. The ancient cauldron vibrated and a powerful devouring force gushed out from the ancient cauldron, freezing the ball of primordial spirit in place. What? Ancestor Tianluo's shock was not to be underestimated. In the next moment, Ancestor Tianluo's primordial spirit flew towards the Mountain and River Cauldron. Without any suspense, Ancestor Tianluo's primordial spirit was sucked into the Mountain and River Cauldron. The Mountain and River Cauldron was an extreme-grade Dao weapon. Ancestor Tianluo is done for. Everyone knew that the patriarch of the celestial human clan had most likely met with misfortune. Ji Yufei waved his hand and the ancient cauldron shrank. It flew back to Ji Yufei and landed in Ji Yufei's hand. Just like that, the celestial clan's primordial spirit was sucked away and his primordial spirit was destroyed. Countless members of the celestial clan in the celestial city were shocked and furious. They could only watch helplessly as their patriarch was killed. At that moment, the terrifying might from the celestial clan shook the heavens and earth. A figure even larger than a mountain appeared above the ancestral ground of the celestial clan. When all the disciples of the celestial clan saw that figure, they all knelt down and kowtowed to him. Rumble. At this moment, the huge figure stretched out its right hand and grabbed at Ji Yufei. The void that was enveloped by the huge hand was immediately annihilated. Ji Yufei sneered. In the next moment, he smashed the Mountain River Cauldron in his hand towards the huge hand that was grabbing him. Everyone was indescribably shocked. Boom. With a muffled sound like thunder, the Mountain and River Cauldron fiercely smashed against the huge hand. The next moment, the huge hand actually collapsed in the void. Roar. A terrifying roar was heard from the ancestral ground of the celestial clan. It was as if a terrifying existence was trying to break the seal and break out. At this moment, the huge hand that Ji Yufei had smashed with the Mountain River Cauldron grew out from the body of the terrifying figure again. It was also extremely powerful. Could it be that even the avatar of the patriarch is no match for this guy? The ancestral ground of the celestial clan was already in a mess. After Patriarch Tianluo was defeated by Ji Yufei, everyone in the celestial clan was in a panic. With Patriarch Tianluo around, they were not afraid of anything. But now, Patriarch Tianluo was defeated, and they had lost their backing. Now, the elders of the celestial clan could only activate the defensive formation of the ancestral ground to prevent the fierce person from outside from killing their way in. If that person entered the ancestral ground, the entire celestial clan would probably be annihilated. The elders of the celestial clan used their last resort, which was to release the avatar of the celestial clan's patriarch. Back then, that invincible celestial being had already left and no one knew where he went. However, he left behind an avatar to protect the celestial clan. Throughout the ages, the celestial clan had experienced countless dangers. There were a few times when the enemy had already entered the ancestral ground, but the avatar of the patriarch was able to turn the tables and turn the tide of the battle. Moreover, the celestial clan still had some powerful tricks up their sleeves. In the end, they could take their enemies down with them. However, as long as there was a chance of survival, The elders of the celestial clan would not use such a suicidal method. Sir, is there a misunderstanding between us? At this moment, an old man with a cane walked out of the ancestral ground of the celestial clan. The old man was very old. All his teeth and hair had fallen out, and his face was full of wrinkles. The old man's eyes were lifeless, as if he was an ordinary old man with one foot in the grave. However, the old man was walking in the air toward Gu Fei step by step. Gu Fei held the mountain river cauldron and looked at the old man indifferently. There is no misunderstanding, Gu Fei said coldly. Anyone who dares to harm his family must die. Gu Fei's face turned even colder when he thought about how his daughter had almost died at the hands of Patriarch Li Yuan of the Celestial Clan. Sir, you should know that my clan's ancestral medicine has been stolen, the old man said calmly. So what if your ancestral medicine has been stolen? What does it have to do with me? Gu Fei said disapprovingly. The day my clan's ancestral medicine was stolen, your daughter barged into my clan's medicinal garden. The old man did not directly say that Jiu Ling had stolen the ancestral medicine, but his meaning was clear. I, Jiu Ling, will admit what I've done. However, if you want me to take the blame for something I haven't done, I won't do it. Jiu Ling came to her father's side and stared at the old man. What can my daughter, Jiu Fei, not have? Why would she steal your so-called ancestral medicine? What a joke. Jiu Fei sneered. He, Jiu Fei, could have anything he wanted. It was just an ancestral medicine. Then this is really a big misunderstanding. We should stop fighting and work together to find the mastermind, the old man said. Mastermind? Jiu Fei couldn't help but frown when he heard this. In fact, he had already thought of this. Someone wanted him to start a war with the Celestial Clan. If they wanted to start a war, then so be it. Since he, Jiu Fei, had he ever feared anyone? Beating the Celestial Clan up wasn't a bad thing. The Celestial Clan was one of the strongest clans on the Primeval ancestral planet. Beating them up would intimidate all the other forces on the planet. I even beat up the Celestial Clan. You guys are nothing. In fact, the news of Jiu Fei killing the Celestial Clan's old ancestor Li Yuan and defeating old ancestor Tian Luo had shocked the entire primordial ancestral star. Countless experts had their eyes on Celestial City. Jiu Fei had single-handedly killed his way into Celestial City and defeated the experts of the Celestial Clan. This was something that had never happened before. Chapter 42-43. The Mastermind. Jiu Fei stared at the old man with a cold expression. That's right. Someone wants us to fight. It's best if both of us are injured so that they can reap the benefit. The Grand Elder of the Celestial Humans said. Since you said that there's a mastermind behind this, fine. I'll give you 3 days to uncover the mastermind. Jiu Fei said seriously. 3 days. The Grand Elder of the Celestial Humans was stunned. This. Can you give me more time? The Celestial Humans had been looking for the mastermind for a long time, but they didn't find any valuable clues. The one who did it didn't seem to be a native of the ancestral planet. The mastermind was very careful and didn't leave any traces behind. This way, even the Celestial Humans wouldn't be able to find the mastermind. No, I only have 3 days. I'll wait for 3 days as well. 3 days from now, bring the mastermind to the City Lord's mansion of Heavenly Human City and exchange for Patriarch Tian Luo. Jiu Fei said with a serious expression. Father, why don't we take this opportunity to destroy the Celestial Humans? Jiu Ling looked at his father in confusion. The Grand Elder of the Celestial Humans was shocked to hear Jiu Ling say that he wanted to destroy the Celestial Humans. Since someone wants to play, then let's play. Jiu Fei said disapprovingly. This, Jiu Ling was speechless. Although his father only gave the Celestial Humans 3 days, the Celestial Humans would have a chance to escape within these 3 days. You're afraid that they'll escape, right? Jiu Fei glanced at Jiu Ling and said. He was Jiu Ling's father, so he naturally knew Jiu Ling's character. Yes. Jiu Ling nodded. Jiu Fei smiled. In the next moment, The mountain and river cauldron in his hand rose into the sky and hovered above the ancestral land of the celestial humans. A powerful aura surged out from the cauldron and enveloped the entire ancestral land. What? The Grand Clan Elder of the Heavenly Human Clan was shocked to see this. The entire world seemed to have been sealed up. Countless experts in the ancestral land of the celestial humans felt extremely stifled. What's going on? What is that cauldron? Heaven City was in an uproar. Everyone was shocked to the extreme. The Celestials can't escape even if they grow wings. After saying that, Jiyu Fei brought his daughter, Jiyu Ling, back to Sky Human City. At that moment he took Jiyu Ling and chased away many people who wanted to fish in troubled waters. The city lord's mansion seemed a bit deserted, so Jiyu Fei opened his inner world and let Zhao Hao, Yang and Meng Long out. The Meng clan thrived in Jiyu Fei's inner world. In the Meng clan, there were indeed a few extremely powerful existences. Especially the old clan leader of the Meng family. No one would have thought that the old clan leader would be so heaven-defying and become a sage. He was the first sage of the Meng family. This time, the Meng family had produced a sage and 5 almighties. Jiyu Fei then ordered the old clan leader of the Meng clan and the 5 almighty experts of the Meng clan to select a dozen or so members of the Meng clan to temporarily manage the city. After settling everything, he left a doppelganger to guard Heaven Human City. Then, he took Jiyu Ling, Yang Zhao Hao, and Meng Long into the world of the 9 Heaven Stars sword. Every supreme Tao weapon had the power to split the heavens and earth. It was equivalent to the reincarnation of an supreme Tao weapon. Jiyu Fei's 9 Heaven Stars sword and sky blue immortal golden armor were no longer supreme Tao weapons. When he became an invincible expert in the eternal realm, he had re-refined them. To be precise, the 9 Heaven Stars sword and sky blue immortal golden armor were both eternal Tao weapons. They were beyond the scope of supreme Tao weapons. Given Jiyu Fei's current peak paragon cultivation base, he should not have been able to open the inner world of an eternal Tao weapon. However, the 9 Heaven Stars sword was Jiyu Fei's natal Tao weapon. He had already begun refining the 9 Heaven Stars sword before he reached the Tao realm. Even though his cultivation base had just recovered to peak paragon, he could still communicate with the 9 Heaven Stars sword. At this time, Jiyu Fei was sitting cross-legged on a mountain peak in his inner world. A pitch-black, seemingly ordinary long sword floated in front of him. The sword had no scabbard. There was nothing in the 9 heavens and 10 earths that could conceal its sharpness. Jiyu Ling and the others stood behind Jiyu Fei, looking at the black sword in front of them with excitement. This was their father's 9 Heaven Stars sword, a supreme eternal Tao weapon. Jiyu Ling was no stranger to the 9 Heaven Stars sword. However, the 9 Heaven Stars sword she had seen before was no longer the 9 Heaven Stars sword she had seen before. This was an eternal Tao weapon. An eternal Tao weapon was definitely the most powerful Tao weapon in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Just as Jiyu Ling was getting excited, the black sword floating in front of her father suddenly vibrated. Then, a transparent ripple spread out from the sword. A moment later, the black sword disappeared. A black hole appeared where the black sword had been. "Go in. I will bring you out in 3 days." Jiyu Fei said. "Yes, father." Jiyu Ling was extremely excited. Her father was going to help her take that step forward. Zhao Hao, Yang and the others were also excited. They knew that their cultivation bases would definitely improve significantly if they entered that place to cultivate. At this time, Jiyu Ling walked up and walked directly into the black hole, disappearing inside. The moment Jiyu Ling stepped into the black hole, he felt the heaven and earth distort for a moment. In the next moment, he appeared in a dark void. Jiyu Ling looked around curiously. She could not see the sun in this place. There were black clouds and black fog everywhere. From time to time, lightning flashed in the black clouds. "You are Jiyu Fei's daughter? Not bad. If you are ready, let's begin." A voice came from the void. It was a voice that was neither male nor female. It was very neutral. "Are you the sword spirit of the 9 Heaven Stars sword?" Jiyu Ling asked. "I will manifest your father's prime heavenly tribulation. Let's see how many layers you can withstand." As the sword spirit spoke, the void suddenly changed color. The surrounding scenery changed as well. The void of heaven and earth appeared. Tribulation clouds gathered in the sky, and a powerful figure emerged from the clouds. This is Father's prime heavenly tribulation. Ji Ling clenched her fists and stared at the figure in the clouds. The appearance of this powerful figure caused the world to tremble. Ji Ling's training was about to begin. She was very confident that as long as she could withstand the first and second layers of her father's prime heavenly tribulation, she would be able to take that step and become a quasi-supreme. Chapter 42-44. The 9 Heavenly Stars sword was a weapon that Ji Fei had refined himself. Before Ji Fei attained the Tao, he had started to refine it until Ji Fei became an eternal expert. Ji Fei had refined 2 eternal Tao weapons. One was the 9 Heavenly Stars sword, and the other was the sky blue immortal gold battle armor. The sky blue immortal gold battle armor was currently on Ji Ling. Ji Ling had been sent into the world within the 9 Heavenly Stars sword by Ji Fei to undergo extreme cultivation. At this time, Ji Fei was sitting cross-legged on the peak of a mountain in his inner world. An ancestral dragon as thick as an arm was swimming around his body. It was not a real ancestral dragon, but Ji Fei's ancestral dragon divine medicine. The immortal ancestral dragon divine medicine had always been in Ji Fei's inner world. Because of the existence of the divine spring of life, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth in Ji Fei's inner world was much denser than anywhere else. The immortal ancestral dragon divine medicine was like a fish in water here. Even if he told this stalk of spiritual herb to leave, it would not leave. How has the little fellow been recently? Ji Fei touched the little ancestral dragon on his shoulder and asked with a smile. The little ancestral dragon opened its mouth a few times and let out a sound similar to that of a real ancestral dragon. Well, let's go see the mistress of this place. Ji Fei looked in the direction of Yang and then stood up from the big rock he was sitting on. In the next moment, Ji Fei disappeared from the mountain peak with the ancestral dragon divine medicine. Roar! Hey Tian, Ji Changkong, you 2 bastards, I will tear you to pieces. An angry roar came from a valley in the east domain of the crepe myrtle star. In the valley, violet qi surged, and a figure dashed left and right amidst the endless divine light. Everywhere he went, countless runes would appear, directly blocking him. Ha ha, come out first. On a mountain near the valley, a black-robed young man laughed. He was He Tian. This guy was scamming people again. He Tian, I am an elder of the Ziwei Ji clan, how dare you trick me? The man trapped in the valley roared angrily. Ji Xian, you and Empress Ji secretly plotted to kill me and Ji Changkong. Do you think I don't know? He Tian said disdainfully. What did you say? You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. The middle-aged man named Ji Xian said angrily. At this time, the Ziwei ancestral star was in an uproar. The Ziwei Ji family had ruled over the Ziwei ancestral star for countless years. However, when Ji Changkong returned, internal strife broke out in the Ji clan. The other powers that were suppressed by the Ji clan all rose up. As for the Ji family, several factions were constantly fighting openly and secretly. They were busy with internal control, so naturally, they didn't have time to pay attention to those forces that had just emerged. As a result, those forces obtained precious time and gradually grew stronger. By the time the higher-ups of the Ji clan realized something was wrong, it was already too late. Right now, the Ji clan was divided into 3 factions. One was led by the clan lord, the other was led by Ji Changkong, and the last one was made up of those neutral factions. Among these neutral factions, there were countless experts. They were the targets of Ji Changkong and Emperor Ji. To Emperor Ji and Ji Changkong, whoever could obtain the support of the neutral factions would be able to defeat the other party. Therefore, the neutral factions were very important. Ji Xian was one of the neutral factions in the Ziwei Ji clan. He was also an elder of the Ji clan, one of the higher-ups. He Tian, have always been very careful when doing things. If I didn't have proof, would I speak nonsense? He Tian said with a cold smile. You, Ji Xian was incomparably shocked. Don't you know who I am? How dare you deal with me? You must be tired of living. He Tian said coldly. In these few years, he and Ji Changkong had been assassinated countless times, but they still survived. In the end, the Ji clan was in a three-way situation. He Tian, Ji Shen roared in the valley. The killing formation laid down by He Tian was incomparably powerful. Although Ji Shen was an elder of the Ji clan, he could not break this killing formation. Under He Tian's control, the killing formation evolved into many killing moves. He was a formation grandmaster. Even on the Ziwei ancestral star, no one could contend against him in terms of formation Dao. At this moment, a fiery light flew over from afar and was caught by He Tian. Quickly come to the godly abyss. This was a message fire. There was only one sentence in it from Ji Changkong. The godly abyss was a forbidden land in the east of the Ziwei ancestral star. It was a terrifying abyss that could devour immortals and gods. Did Ji Changkong really find it? He Tian was very excited. Ji Shen, go on your way. As He Tian spoke, he directly triggered the power of the killing formation. Countless divine lights appeared in the valley and pierced towards a figure. Every divine light pierced through the void. Powerful formation diagrams appeared in the void one after another. Very soon, Ji Shen, who was trapped in the valley, gradually lost his breath. Finally, he was killed by the power of the killing formation that He Tian triggered. His body and soul were destroyed. A dignified elder of the Ji clan disappeared from the face of the earth just like that. After killing Ji Shen, He Tian waved his right hand. Countless formation runes immediately rushed out of the valley and turned into a miniature formation. He Tian grabbed it in his hand. He Tian was a formation grandmaster. He had mastered the mystique of forming a formation from the void. In a place below the godly abyss, a few figures were confronting each other. Boss Hu, what is the meaning of this? I found this spirit transforming grass first. A young man in white said coldly. The weak are prey to the strong in the cultivation world. The spirit transforming grass belongs to whoever's fist is harder. The burly middle-aged man sneered. Chimph, is that so? Do you really think that your fist is harder than mine? The white-robed Ji Changkong sneered. We'll know whose fist is harder after we fight. A young man beside Boss Hu said. Boss, why are you still talking nonsense with this guy? Just kill him. Another young man said coldly. Ji Changkong, I'm sorry. The leader, Boss Hu, said and directly attacked Ji Yufei. Swoosh. A cold light flashed in the void and slashed towards Ji Yufei. The cold light instantly slashed in front of Ji Yufei. However, in the next moment, the cold light that was about to hit Ji Yufei suddenly reversed and slashed the three Hu brothers. What? The expressions of the three Hu brothers immediately froze. They did not dare to believe that Boss Hu's move could be reversed by Ji Yufei. Then, the three of them fell down and were cut in half at the waist at the same time. This. Chapter 42-45. The Fallen God Abyss was also known as the Fallen God Demon Abyss. It was a perilous place in the eastern region of the Purple Myrtle Star. Some people said that this abyss was created by an unparalleled existence with a single slash. Others said that in the distant past, there was a battle between an unparalleled expert and an unparalleled great demon. This was the place where the supreme expert killed the demon. The fallen god demon abyss was enveloped by demonic energy. There were unknown dangers everywhere. If one was not careful, they could die inside. There was once an immortal-level existence that flew over the fallen god demon abyss. However, he fell directly into the abyss and disappeared. This was how the fallen god demon abyss got its name. At this moment, Ji Changkong killed the three Hu clan brothers. He carefully dug out a scarlet divine herb from the cliff and moved it into his inner world. The spirit-transforming grass was not an ordinary divine herb. It was a divine herb used by cultivators to break through to the next realm. If a pinnacle expert ate it, he could successfully break through the limits of his cultivation and become a sage. If a pinnacle holy venerate ate this divine herb, he could enter the quasi-supremacy realm in one step. Ji Changkong's cultivation had reached a bottleneck. The spirit-transforming grass was extremely important to him. He could not afford to lose it. Ji Changkong was already a quasi-supremacy realm cultivator. Right now, he was only at the beginner stage of the quasi-supremacy realm. He needed the spirit-transforming grass to consolidate his cultivation. Hand over the spirit-transforming grass or you will die. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out in his mind. What? Ji Changkong was shocked. At the same time, a huge palm came down from the sky and grabbed Ji Changkong. Open! Ji Changkong roared angrily. A tyrannical power exploded from his body. In the next moment, the huge palm that grabbed him shattered in the void. Bang! At the same time, a mysterious figure instantly appeared behind Ji Changkong. Then, he ruthlessly slapped Ji Yufei's back. A violent force exploded out, causing the surrounding void to tremble. Ji Changkong flew forward involuntarily. His entire body seemed like it was going to fall apart. A trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. Me. Ji Changkong, what a great name. You are only SOSO. A figure appeared. Preposterous. When Ji Changkong heard this, he became enraged. This fellow hid his head but showed his tail, sneak attacked me, and even mocked me. This was too much. In the past few years, Ji Changkong and He Tian had always been successful in every endeavor. They had beaten Emperor Ji's faction into a retreat, shocking the entire Myrtle ancestral star. Who would dare to underestimate him? Boom! An extremely tyrannical energy fluctuation erupted from Ji Changkong's body. The energy of an early-stage quasi-supreme being appeared between heaven and earth, causing the surrounding space to tremble. 9 revolutions heaven art? The man's expression turned solemn. One should know that the 9 revolutions heavenly art of the Ji clan of Ziwei Prefecture was one of the best in the human realm. Even in the Ji clan, there weren't many who could cultivate it. To be able to die under my 9 revolution heavenly art, you did not come to this world in vain, Ji Changkong said coldly as he stared at that person. His aura continued to rise, and pitch-black spatial cracks began to appear in the surrounding void. The space around Ji Changkong started to become unstable. Yu Cheong, you shouldn't have provoked me. Ji Changkong stared at the person opposite him and said coldly. The person who suddenly attacked Ji Changkong was called Yu Cheong. He was an ancestor-level existence of the Fiend race that had recently risen to power in the ancestral star. The Fiend race had existed for countless years. They were known for their mysteriousness. No one knew where their ancestral land was, and no one could find out the whereabouts of any of them. They were like ghosts, appearing and hiding from time to time. But in every era, there would be members of this race roaming the ancestral star. Of course, as the #1 cultivation clan in the ancestral star, the Ji clan did not care about the Fiend race at all. However, the Fiends had directly challenged the Ji clan's ruling position on Myrtle Star. For the Ji clan, this was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot, or an ant trying to shake a tree. It wasn't a threat at all. However, in less than 100 years, the Fiend race continued to strengthen itself by annexing other forces. Today, the Fiend race had become a powerful force that could even shake the Ji clan. It was only now that the Ji clan realized that the ant in their eyes had become a giant dragon. Yu Cheong was one of the 3 ancestors of the Fiend race, and the weakest one at that. He was the 3rd of the 3 ancestors. But it was this 3rd ancestor who had injured Ji Changkong with a single move. So what? Who do you think you are? Ha ha. Yu Cheong laughed disdainfully. Then today will be the anniversary of your death. Ji Changkong said with a murderous look. Is that so? Today should be the anniversary of your death. Yu Cheong was still arrogant and disdainful. Die. Ji Changkong could not be bothered to waste his breath on Yu Cheong. His body shook and 9 shadows rushed out of his body, charging towards Yu Cheong. This is the 9 revolution heaven art? That's all. Yu Cheong laughed coldly and extended his right hand. 5 rays of dark light shot out from his fingers and pierced through the 5 shadows that were charging towards him. However, the 5 phantoms that had been pierced seemed to be fine. 5 black lights shot out as if they had pierced through the void. Yu Cheong's expression changed. In the next moment, he retreated, leaving behind a series of afterimages in the void. The 9 shadows seemed to have merged with the void and rushed forward. They were so fast that they caught up to Yu Qiong. Yu Qiong was surrounded by 9 powerful phantoms in an instant. What? Yu Qiong was shocked again. Boom! The 9 shadows merged together and collided with each other. The entire void was blasted into nothingness, and a terrifying destructive force spread out in all directions. Even the fallen god-demon abyss was affected and shook. Yu Qiong, who was in the center, had divine light exploding from his body. His protective artifacts were destroyed one by one. A total of 13 layers of divine light exploded. Those were the 13 quasi-supreme Tao artifacts. Every single one of them was extremely powerful. However, these 13 quasi-supreme Tao artifacts only lasted for 2 breaths of time. Roar! Yu Qiong only had time to roar out before he was torn to pieces by the destructive power. Even his soul was obliterated by the power. He died just like that. Even in death, he could not believe that Ji Changkong could kill him. The explosion of the 9 Revolution Phantoms was simply too strong. After Ji Changkong executed this move, he became exhausted and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Chapter 42-46. Ji Changkong detonated his 9 refinement Tao body and killed Yu Qiong, the third of the 3 patriarchs of the fiend race. Although it happened in the fallen god-demon abyss, many people still noticed the battle, and the news soon spread out of the fallen god-demon abyss. What? Third brother is dead. The grand patriarch of the fiend race, who had just come out of seclusion, was furious when he heard the news. Ji Changkong, I won't rest until one of us is dead. The grand patriarch of the fiend race roared at the sky, and a terrifying aura immediately erupted from his body, causing the entire ancestral land of the fiend race to shake. What could make the grand patriarch so angry? Everyone in the ancestral land of the fiend race was alarmed. At this moment, a figure was sitting cross-legged on a cliff in the fallen god-demon abyss. This figure was like a black hole, crazily devouring the essence of the world around it. This person was Ji Changkong. The fiend race. Ji Changkong gritted his teeth. Yu Qiong's sneak attack had seriously injured him, and the loss of his 9 refinement Tao bodies meant that he had lost his greatest trump card. Without this trump card, he would have to be extra careful for a long time to come. Several hours later, the sky darkened, and night fell. At night, the fallen god-demon abyss was filled with demonic qi. Black qi floated everywhere, as if there were countless demonic shadows looming. The demonic qi here was very strong. If an ordinary cultivator entered this place, he would soon be affected by the demonic qi. If it was light, he would become a demon, and if it was heavy, he would suffer qi deviation and die. Only Sage Realm experts could roam in the fallen god-demon abyss for long periods of time. Apart from the demonic qi, there were actually all kinds of powerful demonic beasts, as well as all kinds of rare spiritual medicines and divine medicines. The soul-transforming grass that Ji Changkong had obtained was one of the rare divine medicines. At this moment, Ji Changkong stopped. The sky was dark in the abyss. At night, the terrifying demonic beasts also moved out. The roars of beasts could be heard in the distance. Ji Changkong, come out and die. At this moment, a beam of divine light flew over from afar. A powerful divine will rippled out in all directions, startling a demonic beast that had just rushed out from the depths of the fallen god-demon abyss. It immediately turned around and rushed back. A powerful quasi-supreme divine aura surged out from the divine light, suppressing the heavens and earth and startling the countless living beings in the fallen god-demon abyss. Roar! An angry roar rang out from the depths of the fallen god-demon abyss, but no powerful magical beasts rushed out. One should know that the ancestral star of the Myrtle was the world of the human race, and the demonic beasts could only hide in the fallen god-demon abyss. If any demonic beast dared to step out of the abyss, they would be killed by the human race's experts. Demonic beasts possessed demonic nature all over their bodies. However, the demon core within their bodies was something that cultivators viewed as something that could be used to increase their cultivation base. The demon core contained the life essence of the demonic beast. Demonic chi was demonic core, but the demon chi was Changling demonic demon core could. Moreover, the more powerful a beast was, the weaker the demonic nature contained in its monster core would be. Thus, There were some people on the Myrtle Star who specialized in hunting magical beasts for a living. Who is that? How dare he enter the abyss in the middle of the night? In a valley near the fallen god demon abyss, a dozen or so human race cultivators wearing black god battle armors were surrounding the corpse of a demonic beast, carefully dissecting it. It was an ordinary azure Chilean demonic dragon. However, a demonic dragon was still a demonic dragon. It took 6 of the 19 members to kill the azure Chilean demonic dragon. The leader of this demon hunting squad was a middle-aged hunchbacked old man who was blind in his right eye. This old man was called the One-Eyed Hunchback Dragon. One-Eyed Hunchback was the one with the highest cultivation in the team. He was a low-level sage. They didn't dare to enter the abyss. They could only stay there for an hour before leaving. Otherwise, they would be corroded by the demonic nature. There's still an hour. Hurry up. One-Eyed Hunchback said anxiously. The battle between supreme existences had nothing to do with small fries like them. They only hunted demonic beasts and obtained their demon cores to exchange for cultivation resources. Ji Changkong, are you still not coming out to die? The old voice echoed throughout the entire fallen god-demon abyss. Who's that? Ji Changkong wouldn't show himself so easily. He didn't have any trump cards left, and this person seemed to be stronger than Yu Qiong. He carefully withdrew his aura and left. Just as he left, a figure descended from the sky and landed in his original position. Did you hide it? An old voice rang out. It was an old man with white hair and eyebrows. He wore a white robe and held a fist-sized black bead in his hand. Isn't that the second ancestor of the fiend race, Yu Qian? Why is he here? Are you deaf? Isn't he here to take revenge on Ji Changkong? Look, he even brought the Netherworld Pearl. A few ancient experts conversed with their divine senses in the distance. Only these existences dared to watch from afar. If it was anyone else, they wouldn't even be able to withstand Yu Qian's aura. The treasure of the Nether race, the Netherworld Pearl? Is this the divine pearl that the ancestor of the Nether clan used to refine a part of the Nether purgatory into? Someone exclaimed. This was the most precious treasure of the Nether clan. It was because of this treasure that the Nether clan was able to avoid the crisis of extermination several times. Do you think you can hide and not come out? Yu Qian roared and immediately took out the Netherworld Pearl in his hand. In the next moment, the Netherworld Pearl flew out of his hand and into the air. Buzz! The orb shook gently, and in the next moment, the power of the world immediately spread out from the orb, enveloping the entire region. Let's go. The few antiques in the distance quickly turned into divine lights and soared into the sky, fleeing in panic. At this moment, a world seemed to appear in the sky above the fallen god-demon abyss. The Netherworld Pearl was actually transforming into a world of its own, and the power of heaven and earth enveloped an area of 100,000 miles. The area of 100,000 miles seemed to have become hell. Bloody light soared into the sky, corpses piled up like mountains, and rivers of blood flowed on the ground. Within the bloody mist, one could vaguely see countless figures howling, roaring, and struggling. Found you. Yu Qian suddenly turned around and charged out. What? Ji Changkong couldn't help but be shocked when he saw Yu Qian flying towards his hiding place. Didn't that bastard He Tian say that his talismans could conceal all auras and no one could break them? I've been tricked this time. Ji Changkong took out a talisman and threw it at Yu Qian. Boom. Chapter 42-47. Under the envelopment of the Netherworld Pearl's power of heaven and earth, nothing could hide. Although Ji Changkong had the invisibility formation talisman that He Tian had refined, he was still discovered by the second ancestor of the Netherworld tribe. Without any hesitation, the second ancestor of the Netherworld tribe, Yu Qian, pounced towards Ji Changkong. He attacked furiously and his killing intent shook the earth. However, Ji Changkong threw a talisman at Yu Qian, who was charging at him. With a rumble, a white light flashed. Countless talismans suddenly appeared in the void and instantly covered a radius of 12 miles. A killing formation that covered a radius of 12 miles appeared in the sky and trapped the second ancestor of the Netherworld tribe, Yu Qian. When Yu Qian saw Ji Changkong, he was originally enraged and wanted to kill Ji Changkong to avenge his third brother. However, who knew that after that guy threw a talisman at him, he would instantly be trapped by a killing formation. How was this possible? Yu Qian did not know that this formation talisman was the masterpiece of He Tian. He Tian had studied formations for countless years and was a formation master. He could instantly set up a killing formation in the void without the help of anything. And this formation talisman was a method of setting up formations that He Tian had researched. Anyone could directly set up a large formation by activating the formation talisman. Therefore, even if one did not know anything about formations, as long as he had the formation talisman, he could instantly become a formation master and set up a killing formation. A mere broken formation can trap me? Yu Qian sneered. At this moment, the peerless killing formation began to operate crazily. Terrifying killing power immediately rushed towards Yu Qian from all directions. Break for me. Yu Qian directly took out the Netherworld Pearl. A ball of black light burst out from the Netherworld Pearl, blocking all of the destructive power. Ha ha. Stop talking big. If one array doesn't work, then we'll use 10. If 10 arrays can't kill you, then we'll use 20 arrays. Let's see if you can survive that. As Ji Changkong spoke, he sent out tens of array talismans in succession. Loud sounds reverberated throughout the fallen god-demon abyss. Seeing this scene, all the experts couldn't help but be moved. With the appearance of these killing formations, the entire fallen god-devil abyss was shaking. In the depths of the abyss, a frenzied roar could be heard as a terrifying devil figure appeared. You bastard! Yu Qian used the Netherworld Pearl to protect himself. All the power of the killing formation was blocked by a layer of black light around Ji Changkong's body. Even if the sky collapsed and the earth cracked, it would not be able to harm him at all. However, these 13 killing arrays were shockingly powerful. Even if they couldn't kill Yu Qian, they could trap him for a while. You can slowly enjoy yourself inside, I won't accompany you, haha. Ji Changkong laughed loudly and tried to flee. However, at this moment, with a loud sound, the 13 layers of killing formations that Ji Changkong laid down suddenly exploded. A terrifying destructive power spread out in all directions, destroying everything. The surroundings of the fallen god-demon abyss collapsed. Dust billowed and demonic chi surged. Below the abyss, countless demonic beasts ran for their lives. The falling rocks and soil had crushed and injured countless demonic beasts. What? Seeing this scene, Ji Changkong couldn't help but be shocked. Ha ha. I already said, how can these broken formations trap me? At this moment, the second ancestor of the Netherworld race, Yu Qian, held the Netherworld Pearl in his hand and rushed into the sky. Ji Changkong's expression changed and he tried to flee. You still want to flee? Yu Qian's face was filled with disdain. He took out the Netherworld Pearl in his hand and a ball of divine light smashed towards Ji Changkong. Ji Changkong felt his body tighten and he was actually imprisoned in the void. He couldn't move at all. At this moment, the power of the Netherworld Pearl sealed the void. He could only watch as the Netherworld Pearl smashed towards him. My life is at stake, I can't die yet. Ji Changkong roared angrily in his heart. Right now, he couldn't even open his mouth to speak. Just as Ji Changkong was about to be smashed to death by the Netherworld Pearl, a black rod suddenly extended from the side and smashed into the Netherworld Pearl. Bang! With a muffled sound, the black rod and the Netherworld Pearl flew out at the same time. Ji Changkong was sent flying by the force of the explosion. He continuously coughed out blood. His entire body felt like it had been crushed by an immemorial mountain. Who knew how many of his bones were broken? Who is it? Come out. Yu Qian waved his hand and the Netherworld Pearl flew back into his hand. Someone actually saved Ji Changkong from his hands. This made him furious. Were you the one who said that my formation was a broken formation? At this moment, a calm but murderous voice rang out. Then, a hand appeared out of nowhere and grabbed the black rod that had been sent flying. A black-robed youth appeared in the air. His complexion was like jade, his eyes were like cold stars, and his eyebrows were long enough to reach his temples. Coupled with his slender figure and elegant temperament, this guy could definitely be called a handsome man who was loved by everyone, a killer star for young girls. The most fatal thing was that this fellow's face carried a trace of evil aura. To any girl, this was filled with temptation. And who are you? Yu Qian had just come out of seclusion. He didn't know that this youth was the famous formation grandmaster of the Creep Myrtle ancestral star, the king of swindlers, He Tian. Ever since He Tian and Ji Changkong escaped from the land of immortals, who knew how many people had been swindled by him? Furthermore, every one of his traps was accurate. No one could escape. Hence, other than being a formation grandmaster, He Tian was also known as the king of swindlers. Although this fellow was known as the king of swindlers, he wasn't angry. Instead, he was very pleased with himself. You don't even know me, how are you going to survive on the Creep Myrtle ancestral star? He Tian said with an evil smile. He Tian, you swindler, you're only here now? I was almost beaten to death by this fellow. Ji Changkong was furious. He had actually sent out the Dao talisman for some time. This He Tian was late. Could it be that he wanted to see him make a fool of himself? Hey, I'm your savior. Show some respect when you speak. He Tian glanced at Ji Changkong. Save my ass. You must have arrived long ago and were just hiding at the side to watch the show, right? Ji Changkong had been with He Tian for so long. How could he not know what kind of person this fellow was? Don't wrongly accuse me. I really just arrived. He Tian shrugged his shoulders. Ji Changkong wanted to say more, but Yu Qian roared, both of you can go and die. Yu Qian took out the Netherworld Pearl again. Page, the one who will die is you. Chapter 42-48. He Tian was a formation grandmaster. In this world, no one could compare to him in terms of understanding formations. He could set up formations in the air with a flick of his finger. He could cause the entire world to be enveloped by killing formations with a wave of his hand. He alone was comparable to 100,000 celestial soldiers and generals. Emperor Ji's 50,000 celestial soldiers were completely annihilated by him. This caused Emperor Ji to vomit blood when he received the news. He wanted to tear him to pieces. From a certain perspective, the battle between Ji Changkong and Emperor Ji had already weakened the Ji clan. Otherwise, the various factions would not have taken advantage of this opportunity to rise up so quickly. Aside from the Netherworld race, there was also the Ghost race, Water race, and Mist race. These originally weak races all displayed great strength. Each of them ruled over a region and became the overlords of a region. At this moment, in the sky above the fallen god-demon abyss, a supreme formation diagram flew out from He Tian's hand. In the next moment, the entire world seemed to solidify. The vast power from this corner of the diagram directly broke through the power of the Netherworld Pearls heaven and earth. This is, Yu Qian was shocked and quickly used the Netherworld Pearl to protect himself. A ball of black light enveloped Yu Qian. A large pearl floated above his head, releasing a powerful power of the heavens and the earth. I heard that the Netherworld Pearl of the Netherworld race was refined by their ancestor after refining a purgatory. Looks like this is not groundless, Ji Changkong exclaimed. At this moment, he was in an extremely sorry state. His body was covered in blood and his clothes were tattered. In some places, even his bones were exposed. Although he seemed to be heavily injured, his life was not in danger. At Ji Changkong's level of cultivation, physical injuries were nothing. Even if his physical body was destroyed, as long as his primordial spirit was not destroyed, he could reconstruct his physical body. However, if his primordial spirit was destroyed, then there was only one outcome for Ji Changkong: death. TCH, isn't it just refining a part of the world? What's there to be surprised about? He Tian said disapprovingly. From his point of view, refining a part of the world was not a difficult task. Ji Fei had refined the Tao of Hell of the ancient Buddhist masters. Moreover, existences whose cultivation had reached the quasi-supreme realm could also split the heavens and earth. How arrogant! Yu Qian stared at He Tian and said coldly. At this moment, the corner of the array diagram that He Tian had shot out had already sealed a part of the world. Naturally, it had also sealed Yu Qian. Page, you'll soon find out whether I'm arrogant or not. The corners of He Tian's lips curled up into an evil smile. Then, his hands danced like he was playing the pipa, forming hand seals one after another. Buzz. The corner of the diagram immediately shook, releasing even more powerful matrix power. In the void, countless matrix patterns emerged and intertwined. Although it was only a corner of the diagram, the power it displayed was earth-shattering. Extreme Dao Array Diagram? It's just a corner. Even if it's a complete diagram, I'm not afraid, let alone a fragment, Yu Qian said disdainfully. The Nether Clan's Nether Pearl was a perfect and flawless Extreme Dao tool. An incomplete diagram could not possibly contend against a complete Dao tool. This was a well-known fact in the world of cultivation. Hihi, is that so? The evil smile on He Tian's face grew even wider. Why are we still talking so much with this guy? Kill him, then destroy the Nether Clan and snatch everything from them. Then, we'll have the ability to fight against Emperor Ji. Ji Changkong's wounds were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Haha, are the two of you crazy? You actually want to destroy my Nether Clan? Yu Qian laughed loudly, as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. The Nether Clan had existed for countless years. Even the Ji Clan could not destroy the Nether Clan. Could these two guys be stronger than the overlord of the Myrtle Ancestral Star, the Ji Clan? He suspects that we don't have the ability. He Tian was somewhat displeased. Then show this guy what you're made of. Ji Changkong said. That makes sense. If I don't show this guy a thing or two, he'll really think that I don't have the ability. He Tian nodded seriously. Die, the two of you. Yu Qian stared at the two with a hideous smile. In the next moment, he bit the tip of his tongue and spat a mouthful of blood on the Nether Pearl above his head. In the next moment, the Nether Pearl seemed to wake up from a deep slumber. 9 Netherworld Dao runes faintly appeared within the Netherworld Pearl, and an extremely powerful energy ripple spread out from the Netherworld Pearl. Rumble. The entire space that was sealed by the mysterious diagram immediately began to tremble. He Tian sat down cross-legged. Let me enjoy your performance. Ji Changkong immediately retreated. In a battle between two experts, it was either one of them dying or the other. It would not be good if he was accidentally affected. Furthermore, Ji Changkong knew his own situation. He had self-destructed his 9 refinement body and lost almost half of his cultivation. Right now, he was at his weakest. I'll let a frog at the bottom of a well like you experience what Array Dao is, He Tian said, both his hands ceaselessly forming hand seals to fire out one seal after another. Every time he fired out a seal, a large stretch of runes would appear in the air to rapidly interweave together to form one array diagram after another. As the diagrams appeared, He Tian successfully activated the corner of the diagram in the sky. An earth-shattering and terrifying array Dao power surged out from the corner of the diagram. The corner of the diagram appeared. Haha, you're really crazy. You want to fight against me with a corner of the diagram? Dream on, Yu Qian said. In the next moment, the Nether Pearl hovering above his head shook violently. The countless diagrams around it were shaken away and countless formation patterns dissipated. The Nether Pearl had only shown a little of its power, but it had almost broken He Tian's array. Not bad. He Tian did not care and continued forming seals. Countless diagrams appeared in the sky and actually connected with the diagram in the sky, gradually forming a complete array. Rumble. The entire sky and earth shook. The array that had almost collapsed instantly stabilized. What? Yu Qian was finally moved. This He Tian was not simple. He could actually complete the incomplete array. Once this array was formed, the entire world would be different. Within the mysterious incomplete array, there seemed to be a supreme being awakening. Kill. Yu Qian roared angrily and directly activated the Nether Pearl with all his might. Buzz. The Nether Pearl's power was fully unleashed. Monstrous netherworld heaven and earth power exploded. The void was crushed and obliterated. Everything seemed to be returning to its most primitive state. The countless array diagrams that were suppressing Yu Qian directly collapsed. Only the huge array diagram in the sky was still suppressing all directions. Timpi. That's an extreme Dao array diagram. How could it be so easy to break it? Chapter 42-49. The fallen god demon abyss was already not peaceful after nightfall, but now it was even more so. A huge formation enveloped a small half of the fallen god-demon abyss. The powerful pressure from the formation caused even the strongest demonic beasts in the abyss to tremble. Under the formation, a ball of divine light slowly rose, as if it wanted to fly away. A power that was no weaker than the formation exploded from the orb. An old man sat cross-legged under the divine light that the orb gave off. He rose up with the orb. "You want to break my formation? You don't have the right," He Tian said with an evil smile. He was still forming hand seals and forming countless formation runes. He was using the power of formation to attract the power of heaven and earth. Even the demonic aura that shrouded the fallen god-demon abyss was dispelled. Rays of starlight fell from the sky and fell into the formation that He Tian had set up. Streams of earth essence energy that looked like ancestral dragons rose up from the ground and gathered towards the killing formation that Erebus had set up. The power of the formation was rising rapidly. This, the second ancestor of the Nether clan, Yu Qian, couldn't help but be shocked when he saw this scene. What he did was equivalent to going against the entire world. If he didn't utilize his extreme Tao energy, then it would probably be impossible for him to break through this grand formation and charge out. However, once he used the power of the extreme Tao, the power of heavenly punishment would be activated. At that time, not only would he lose the Nether Pearl, he would also be killed by the power of heavenly punishment. The speed of the Nether Pearl's rise gradually slowed down. Soon, the Nether Pearl stopped rising and stopped. "Damn it!" Yu Qian roared as he tried to activate the Nether Pearl. However, the Nether Pearl was like an ancient sacred mountain, unmoving. "That's all." He Tian walked over step by step and said disdainfully. Yu Qian couldn't make the decision because he couldn't use the power of the extreme Tao. Whether it was the Nether Pearl or He Tian, they didn't dare to cross the line. "Kill!" He Tian roared. The formation in the sky released a power that was infinitely close to the extreme Tao and blocked the Nether Pearl. "Preposterous!" Yu Qian roared angrily. The energy ripples emitted from the Netherworld Pearl were also infinitely close to the extreme Tao realm. These two forces kept clashing and cancelling each other out. Just like that, the entire void began to tremble. Pitch-black spatial cracks appeared in the void. Yu Qian was indescribably shocked. This little fellow had actually managed to block him. He Tian continued to attack. Countless array patterns wove together, turning into Tao diagrams. These Tao diagrams drew in a peerless strength. Layers upon layers of runes scattered and reappeared. Even He Tian himself did not know how many times those runes had reappeared. The power that erupted from that piece of the map fragment was still extremely powerful. An endless heaven and earth spiritual qi continued to gather from all directions. The supreme power condensed by the extreme Tao array was enough to kill any existence below the extreme Tao. However, Yu Qian was relying on the Netherworld Pearl to barely hold on. "I underestimated you." Yu Qian was drenched in sweat. He had already expended a lot of his yuan qi. What made him most nervous was that he found it difficult to absorb the surrounding heaven and earth spiritual qi. This way, he could only use his own yuan qi to activate the Netherworld Pearl. The Netherworld Pearl was an extreme Tao artifact. It required a huge amount of essence qi to activate. Although it was only for an hour, he could not hold on much longer. "Haha, you only know to underestimate me now? It's too late. Today, you will definitely die," He Tian said with a laugh. At this time, the right place, and the right people were all on his side. If he killed many of the second patriarchs of the Nether race now, it would be even more impossible to kill him in the future. "Is that so? You're going too far. At most, I'll perish together with you." Yu Qian sneered. "Hee, then go ahead and try." He Tian's expression darkened. The peerless formation and the Netherworld Pearl continued to collide and destroy each other. For a moment, neither side could do anything to the other. While He Tian and Yu Qian were fighting, a divine sword was floating above a mountain in Jiyu Fei's inner world in the primordial ancestral star. A figure was sitting cross-legged in front of the divine sword. This person was Jiyu Fei. Jiyu Ling, Zhao Hao, and the others had already entered the inner world of the Nine Heaven Stars sword for a day and a night. He did not know how Jiyu Ling and the others were doing. 2 more days, Jiyu Fei muttered to himself. In 2 more days, he would be able to bring them out. The deadline he had given to the celestial race was also up. If the celestial race could not find the mastermind, he would destroy the celestial race. At this time, in a certain place in the inner world of the 9 heaven stars' sword, endless lightning surged in the void. A terrifying aura of destruction filled the world. The sky was dark and dense with tribulation clouds, and the figure under the tribulation clouds was extremely small. Compared to the tribulation cloud that enveloped the entire area, the person under the tribulation cloud was practically negligible. That was because he was simply too small. However, the target of the endless power of thunder and lightning from the tribulation cloud was that figure. This person was Jiyu Ling. She was wearing the sky blue immortal gold battle armor. She stood in the void and looked up at the tribulation clouds in the sky. Boom! A bolt of lightning bigger than a mountain suddenly struck down from the tribulation clouds and hit Jiyu Ling raw. Jiyu Ling roared angrily and was struck down from the sky by this bolt of lightning. However, in the next moment, she stabilized her body and rushed to the sky, returning to her previous position. She was steaming from head to toe. She had been struck by lightning, and although most of the power of the lightning had been dissipated by the sky blue immortal gold battle armor, a portion of it had still affected her body. This was the lightning tribulation of Jiyu Fei's 9 heaven supreme tribulation. Jiyu Ling could only withstand a single bolt of lightning. Even if it was only 1 bolt, she would not be able to withstand it without the protection of the sky blue immortal gold battle armor. Her body and soul would be destroyed. Although the lightning tribulation was terrifying, it was all under the control of the sword spirit. Jiyu Fei didn't send Jiyu Ling here to send her to her death. Not bad, continue. The sword spirit's voice resounded in the sky. Jiyu Ling's performance was beyond the sword spirit's expectations. At the beginning of the lightning tribulation, Jiyu Ling could not even withstand a single bolt of lightning. She was severely injured by the power of the lightning tribulation and was almost killed. However, although she was still in a sorry state, her body had become stronger after being tempered by the power of the lightning. Again. Chapter 4250. Jiyu Ling's cultivation had long reached a bottleneck, but she hadn't been able to take that step in the past few years. Now that she was reunited with her father, Jiyu Fei, she naturally wanted to ask her father about cultivation. Actually, Jiyu Fei had given birth to Jiyu Ling with Yang when he was turning into a mortal. Jiyu Fei's bloodline hadn't been an obstacle to Jiyu Ling's cultivation. She was able to reach this step because of her own hard work. Jiyu Ling possessed a fire martial physique. Right now, she was a fire martial lord, a peak holy venerate. She was just 1 step away from breaking through to the quasi-supremacy realm. However, she was just 1 step away. She had tried all sorts of methods in the past few years, but she still hadn't been able to break through this shackle of cultivation. This time, Jiyu Ling was staking it all on 1 throw. She wanted to use cruel cultivation and extreme methods to stimulate her own potential so that she could soar into the sky. Although a sage realm existence was extremely powerful, the ruler of this world was a quasi-supremacy. Due to the existence of the power of heavenly punishment, unless a supremacy appeared, a quasi-supremacy was invincible. It was unknown how many quasi-supremacies were hidden on the entire primordial ancestral planet. If Jiyu Ling wanted to make a name for herself on the primordial ancestral planet, she would first have to break through her current cultivation bottleneck and become a quasi-supremacy. Only then would she be qualified to participate. Rumble, thick tribulation clouds came crashing down from the sky. An even more powerful lightning tribulation energy erupted from within the tribulation clouds. Countless lightning bolts swam within the tribulation clouds. The aura of destruction was earth-shattering. The heavenly tribulation that the sword spirit of the 9 heaven stars sword had conjured was very realistic. This made Jiyu Ling feel as though she was undergoing the tribulation herself. However, the power of the heavenly tribulation was vast and boundless, while Jiyu Ling's power was very weak. Even so, Jiyu Ling's battle intent was still strong in the face of such a powerful heavenly tribulation. Her entire body emitted a fiery glow, as though she was a ball of divine fire that was burning. The void around Jiyu Ling was being burned by the divine fire that was emitting from her body, causing it to distort continuously. Again, Jiyu Ling had inherited Jiyu Fei's indomitable will. Even in the face of a powerful heavenly tribulation, he was still fearless and kept pressing forward. The heavenly tribulation seemed to have sensed Jiyu Ling's battle intent. This time, 9 blinding bolts of lightning shot down from the tribulation clouds towards Jiyu Ling. Each bolt of tribulation lightning was as terrifying as if it could destroy a part of the world. 9 bolts of tribulation lightning struck down at the same time. Every inch of the void was filled with a terrifying aura of destruction. Even Jiyu Ling couldn't help but be moved at this moment. Come. Jiyu Ling used all of his strength to resist the 9 heavens tribulation lightning. Boom. Following an earth-shattering boom, dazzling lightning instantly enveloped Jiyu Ling. 9 bolts of tribulation lightning struck Jiyu Ling at the same time. In the next moment, the divine fire on Jiyu Ling's body was instantly dispersed. Then, her entire body crumbled and turned into a mist of blood. All that was left was a human-shaped armor that floated in the void. It was the sky-blue immortal gold armor. At the crucial moment, the sky-blue immortal gold armor had protected Jiyu Ling's primordial spirit. The power of the 9 bolts of tribulation lightning was too strong. Even Jiyu Ling's well-tempered fire martial body couldn't withstand it. The blood mist gathered within the sky-blue immortal gold armor. Very quickly, a figure appeared within the sky-blue immortal gold armor. Jiyu Ling, who had cultivated to the peak of the Paragon realm, had an extremely strong martial body. It had reached the point where she could be reborn from a single drop of blood. However, the power of the 9 bolts of tribulation lightning was too strong. It took her almost an hour to completely reconstruct her martial body. Jiyu Ling appeared once again under the tribulation clouds. After reconstructing her martial body, her sharp aura seemed to have retracted. Her flesh and bones had been tempered by the tribulation lightning and had become slightly stronger. Lingering on the edge of life and death was the best way to stimulate a cultivator's potential. Back then, Jiyu Fei had experienced countless battles of life and death to achieve what he had today. If he wanted to succeed, he needed to put in a lot of effort. In the world of cultivation, there was no such thing as reaping without sowing. Only by undergoing the baptism of blood and the test of life and death could one become a true expert. Jiyu Ling had brought along enough divine medicine that could instantly restore her to peak condition. She took out a crimson godly herb from her inner world and consumed it. As the medicinal power spread through her body, the aura that erupted from her body became even more powerful. However, the tribulation lightning had only just begun. Jiyu Ling's battle intent surged once again as she faced the tribulation lightning head-on. At this time, in the eastern region of the Myrtle Star, above the fallen god-demon abyss, the battle between He Tian and Yu Qian had reached its climax. The supreme formation that He Tian had set up was like a huge fishing net, trapping Yu Qian and the Netherworld Pearl. Yu Qian controlled the Netherworld Pearl and charged left and right, trying to break out of the formation. However, it was all in vain. Even Yu Qian himself was a little nervous. He did not want to die here like his third brother. He Tian, do you really want to die together with me? Yu Qian roared angrily. He Tian's formation suppressed everything, and Yu Qian could not receive any replenishment from the heaven and earth spiritual qi. His yuan qi was depleted every time he used it. He was not like He Tian, who could continuously draw in heaven and earth spiritual qi to replenish his yuan qi. Using the Netherworld Pearl required a huge amount of yuan qi. Yu Qian could not take it anymore. The Netherworld Pearl was devouring his yuan qi wildly. At this rate, he would be sucked dry by the Netherworld Pearl before long. Without He Tian doing anything, he would die. TCH, use your extreme Dao power if you have the guts. He Tian did not care at all. Fine, you forced me to do this. Yu Qian gritted his teeth. Since he was going to die anyway, it was not a bad idea to drag this fellow down with him. Rumble. In the next moment, he self-detonated, turning into a bloody mist that enveloped the Netherworld Pearl. The power of the Netherworld race's bloodline entered the Netherworld Pearl. Yu Qian was using his own bloodline power to awaken the god within the Netherworld Pearl. This fellow is ruthless. Seeing this, He Tian did not dare to delay. He immediately took out another treasure. It was a bone, and it seemed to be the thigh bone of some living creature. Once this bone appeared, the heaven and earth were enveloped by a fierce, murderous aura. This was the bone of a peerless, ferocious beast. Even though there was only one bone left, its power was still overwhelming, and the ripples of power it emitted were extremely powerful. The sacred bone of a heavenly beast. Some of the older generation experts who were watching the battle from afar exclaimed, "Heavenly beast!" Hearing this, He Tian was somewhat surprised. Rumble. Just at this moment, there was a loud sound. An extreme Tao power immediately exploded from the Netherworld Pearl. The extreme Tao power shook the heavens and earth. Chapter 4251. The second ancestor of the Netherworld race, Yu Qian, was forced into a dead end by He Tian. He actually dared to use the power of the extreme Tao. He did not hesitate to use his ancestral bloodline to activate the Netherworld Pearl, the extreme Tao treasure. Only this method could truly awaken the Netherworld race's extreme Tao treasure. Boom! A ray of black light appeared, more resplendent than 100,000 suns. The entire world seemed like it was about to shatter. A supreme aura that seemed to have existed since ancient times appeared in the world. At this moment, the world lost color and the stars trembled. All living beings on the Myrtle ancestral planet felt a fear that came from the depths of their souls. They could not help but tremble. The power of the extreme Tao, even people as strong as He Tian and Ji Changkong turned pale with fright. Today will be the day you die. Yu Qian's consciousness came out from the Netherworld Pearl. His tone was incomparably crazy. He self-destructed his body and used all the power of his bloodline to awaken the Netherworld Pearl. At this moment, he became one with the Netherworld Pearl. It was as if a true extreme Tao sovereign had descended into the world. Yu Qian felt that he was extremely powerful. It was as if he could destroy the world with a wave of his hand, as if he could trample the entire world under his feet. "Haha, you don't know what's good for you." He Tian suddenly laughed. Then, he waved his hand and took the corner of the map fragment in the sky. Then, he used the power of the map fragment to bring Ji Changkong far away. "You still want to escape?" Yu Qian was about to attack. At this moment, he became one with the Netherworld Pearl. His attack was equivalent to an extreme Tao sovereign's attack. Even if He Tian and Ji Changkong had the heavenly beast sacred bone and the map fragment to protect themselves, they would not be able to block his attack. However, Yu Qian did not realize that he did not even have the chance to attack. Just as Yu Qian was about to make his move, the power of the heavenly punishment exploded. The entire sky was instantly sealed. Buzz! The Netherworld Pearl let out a mournful wail. It wanted to break through the void and escape. However, the void was extremely firm. Even if an extreme Tao sovereign came personally and attacked with all his might, it would be difficult to break through, let alone Yu Qian and the Netherworld Pearl. "Little fellow, you're still too inexperienced." From afar, He Tian stared at the Netherworld Pearl that was being suppressed by the power of heavenly punishment as he grinned evilly. He had once again conned an unlucky fellow. There was nothing he could do about it. Who asked him to be so fond of conning others? He Tian wanted to force Yu Qian to use his extreme path power because he already knew that even if Yu Qian used his extreme path power, he would not have the chance to attack. The power of heaven's punishment would seal this power, and Yu Qian would not have a chance to attack. Roar! In the void that was sealed by the power of the heavenly punishment, the Netherworld Pearl dashed left and right, trying its best to break out. The violent power of the Netherworld continued to erupt, terrifying to the heavens. However, this destructive power was unable to shake the power of the heavenly punishment. This was the heaven-sealing divine ability that was jointly set up by countless extreme Tao Supremes. How could one extreme Tao Supremes shake countless extreme Tao Supremes? Even if that supreme ancestor of the Netherworld clan personally made a move, the outcome would still be the same. It would be impossible to change anything. Rumble! At this moment, an incomparably shocking sound came from the sky. Many terrifying figures appeared in the sky. Every figure had an oppressive might. That is, Ji Changkong was indescribably shocked. At this moment, His injured body had completely recovered. After consuming the divine medicine, his cultivation had once again recovered to its peak state. These old farts are really bored. They made this thing to harm people. He Tian scolded. The existence of the power of heaven's punishment suppressed all extreme Tao Supremes. This was to protect this world because an attack from an extreme Tao Supremes was enough to cause unbearable damage to this world. Extreme Tao Supremes could destroy the world. This was not a joke. In the sky, the moment those mysterious figures appeared, Yu Qian, who was trapped by the power of heaven's punishment, was immediately stunned. He directly appeared in the void. This was a body formed by the netherworld pearl. How is this possible? Yu Qian was really afraid. The power of heaven's punishment could actually suppress extreme Tao Supremes. The three ancestors of the netherworld race had actually been in seclusion for a very long time. They had only come out in the past 100 years. Otherwise, the netherworld race would not have dared to come out in such a high-profile manner. The three ancestors of the netherworld race were very disdainful of the power of heaven's punishment that could suppress extreme Tao Supremes. In their opinion, extreme Tao Supremes were the strongest power. In this world, there was no power stronger than extreme Tao Supremes. But now, he realized that he was very wrong, so much so that he had to pay the price with his life. In fact, Yu Qian did not know that this was how those extreme Tao Supremes who did not believe in heresy died. There was actually an even stronger power above extreme Tao Supremes. However, even among extreme Tao Supremes, not many people knew about this realm. If Jiyu Fei had not been forced into reincarnation by the number one demon of the primogenitor world and his eternal realm cultivation base had been reduced, he could actually ignore the power of heaven's punishment. He could even break it with a raise of his hand. Now, no one could save Yu Qian. Yes, after this guy dies, let's go to the ancestral land of the netherworld race, He Tian said very seriously. Ji Changkong sneered, a malicious expression on his face. He had actually become bad after spending so much time with He Tian. At this moment, a figure stood up in the sky and took a step forward. Like a gust of wind, it pounced towards Yu Qian. Yu Qian was shocked and angry. He immediately used his strongest ability. In the next moment, a netherworld purgatory appeared in the sky, trying to push back the power of heaven's punishment. However, the blurry figure directly broke through the void and charged into the netherworld purgatory. Then, he chopped off Yu Qian's head with his saber. Yu Qian's figure dissipated in the void. Crack! The sound of something shattering rang out. A divine pearl shattered, and a terrifying destructive power surged out. The entire netherworld purgatory immediately began to collapse. I'm not resigned to this. Yu Qian's last sliver of consciousness dissipated in the void. At this moment, his body and soul were finally destroyed. He died and his Tao disappeared. The figure completely ignored the collapsing ripples of the netherworld purgatory. It directly broke through this part of the world and rushed out. It returned to the sky and stood among the other figures. The power of heaven's punishment immediately obliterated the extreme Tao energy below. Seeing this scene, He Tian and Ji Changkong's hearts were somewhat heavy. The human world was not suitable for the path of supremacy. If they wanted to become extreme Tao supremacy, it was best for them to go to other worlds without the power of heaven's punishment. After obliterating the extreme Tao energy, the power of heaven's punishment directly disappeared. The mysterious figures in the sky also disappeared without a trace, as if they had never appeared. This. Chapter 42-52. The news of the Netherworld clan's second ancestor dying to the power of heavenly punishment quickly spread across the entire crepe myrtle star. The ancestor of the Netherworld clan is courting death. That's the power of heavenly punishment. He deserves to die for challenging it. Before him, I heard that even an extreme supremacy died under the power of heavenly punishment. The entire cultivation world of the crepe myrtle star was in an uproar. Countless people were discussing this matter. This was the first time something like this had happened in the crepe myrtle star. This also sounded the alarm for the extreme sovereigns in the crepe myrtle star. They became even more cautious and would not come out easily. Even if they did, they would not dare to use the power of the extreme path. Sigh. I should go back to sleep. On a mountain near the fallen god-demon abyss, an old man sighed after seeing Yu Qian's death. He turned around and left with a helpless expression. With the power of heavenly punishment, who would dare to come out? In another direction, high up in the sky, a handsome young man looked up at the sky and sighed. In the next moment, he also disappeared into the void, without a trace. At this time, the ancestral grounds of the Netherworld clan was filled with sorrow. All the clansmen were extremely depressed. The two ancestors of the Netherworld clan actually died in the fallen god-demon abyss. The great ancestor came out of seclusion to personally oversee the ancestral grounds of the Netherworld clan. At this time, two figures had already arrived outside the ancestral grounds of the Netherworld clan. A world of its own. No wonder no one could find it after so many years. He Tian looked at the world before him and nodded. The Netherworld clan had some tricks up their sleeves. They actually refined a world into their ancestral grounds. This world could escape into the primal chaos void and leave the human world. Even an extreme-grade sovereign would find it difficult to find the ancestral land of the Netherworld clan, let alone other people. The Ji clan had tried to exterminate the Netherworld clan several times. Although the clan had gone into seclusion, they were still a hidden danger. However, the Netherworld clan always managed to escape. In the current era, the Nether clan immediately conquered a region and became the ruler of a region. This wasn't without reason. Will you do it or not? Ji Changkong looked at He Tian and said, Do it. Why wouldn't we? Does the Netherworld clan think that they can be unbridled just because they have a world as their ancestral grounds? This time, I, Old Black, will turn the Netherworld race into a stew. The evil smile on He Tian's face deepened. Stewed in one pot. When Ji Changkong heard this, he felt goosebumps all over his body. This fellow had once laid down a formation and trapped an enemy from the heavenly serpent race in a valley. After that, he turned the entire valley into a furnace. He Tian had really stewed the heavenly snake clan. All of the heavenly snakes were cooked by the heat emitted by the killing array. That time, they ate snake soup for an entire month until they wanted to vomit. The Netherworld race did not seem to be humans. Ji Changkong did not have any objections to stewing this race. After all, this race had once enslaved humans. There were too many humans. Whether it was the Prime Val Ancestral Star, the Soaring Dragon Ancestral Star, the Creep Myrtle Ancestral Star, the Kunlun Ancestral Star, or the Bujo Ancestral Star, the humans were the absolute protagonists of the 5 great ancestral stars. Of course, the foreign races were also very strong. Especially the foreign races that had once produced extreme Tao Supremes. They had once suppressed the entire realm and were unparalleled. Alright, let's do it. I want them to regret provoking me, Old Black. He Tian said with a fierce expression. The Netherworld race is going to be unlucky, Ji Changkong lamented. Just as He Tian was about to deal with the Netherworld race, Ji Yuling had already stayed in Ji Yufei's inner world for 2 days on the Prime Val Ancestral Star. There was only one more day before Ji Yuling would come out. Ji Yufei was sitting cross-legged on a mountain peak. He felt somewhat bored. He immediately brought out a table and a chair. Then, he placed the dragon meat and phoenix blood he had hunted in the past into the pot and started a fire. He actually started eating hot pot on the mountain. He had learned this way of eating in a place called Huashia on the Kunlun Ancestral Star before he attained the Tao. The people of Huashia were very knowledgeable about eating. Raw meat could be cooked in soup and then eaten. That kind of delicacy was indeed unforgettable. Just as Ji Yufei was enjoying his food on the mountain peak, Ji Yuling was on the verge of death under the heavenly tribulation of the 9 heaven stars sword. Under the endless thunder and lightning, Ji Yuling's entire body was covered in countless electric sparks. Her 7 orifices were spitting out electric sparks. The aura of destruction seemed to be able to obliterate all living things. Roar! Ji Yuling roared continuously. Silver snake-like electric sparks swam around her body. Everywhere they passed, they left behind hideous bloody scars. It was as though they were devouring her flesh and blood. Not bad. You've improved a lot. However, it's still not enough. The sword spirit's voice rang out. Ji Ling only spent 2 days to withstand the lightning tribulation. Of course, she could only withstand it for less than an hour. As expected, when the time was up, Ji Ling was directly blasted down from the sky by the power of the lightning tribulation. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Ji Ling was not discouraged. She directly consumed the divine medicine. In an instant, her cultivation was restored to its peak. In the next moment, she once again shot up into the sky, rushing towards the lightning tribulation. Struck down by the lightning tribulation again and again, Ji Ling was like an unkillable cockroach. Her battle intent was still as strong as ever, and her battle strength was monstrous. Her unyielding will was supporting her. To become a supreme expert, one had to pay the price. No one could succeed casually. Ji Ling's cultivation was already at the peak of the holy venerable realm. She wanted to take that step forward, but she could not. It was not that she did not work hard. To take that step, it was far from enough just by relying on hard work. Just like that, several hours passed. Ji Ling was still fighting against the lightning tribulation. That was the lightning tribulation that Ji Fei had faced in the past. It was extremely powerful. If it was not for the sky blue immortal gold battle armor protecting her, she would have died many times over. There is still no sign of a breakthrough, the sword spirit side. At this time, on the primordial ancestral star, the celestial race finally found the mastermind behind all this. It was Yuan Jiyu. A person called Yuan Jiyu was behind all this. The people of the celestial race had trapped Yuan Jiyu in a valley. How dare you plot against the celestial race? Today, I will destroy your body and soul. The celestial race's old ancestor stared at Yuan Jiyu and said coldly, "Haha, even Jiyu Fei can't kill me." Yuan Jiyu laughed loudly. "What did you say?" The celestial race's old ancestor was shocked. He knew how powerful Jiyu Fei was. Even Jiyu Fei couldn't do anything to this guy. "Alright, I won't play with you guys anymore. Next time, I will find that guy Jiyu Fei." After saying that, Yuan Jiyu disappeared into the void. What? The celestial race's old ancestor was shocked to see this. Chapter 42-53. The mastermind behind the battle between Jiyu Fei and the heavenly humans was Yuan Jiyu, the East Sky Emperor of the heavenly realm. Yuan Jiyu was an immortal emperor of the heaven realm back then. However, he provoked Jiyu Fei, and as a result, he suffered misfortune. Jiyu Fei and the old tortoise broke through his mountain gate and chased him away. The old tortoise replaced him and took over Yuan Gu's territory, increasing the power of the heavenly realm's dragon clan. However, Yuan Jiyu had a mysterious background. He had thousands of incarnations. The East Sky Emperor of the heavenly realm, Yuan Jiyu, was only a clone, not his real body. And now, the Yuan Jiyu on the primordial ancestral star was only a clone. Damn it. The patriarch of the heavenly human clan almost vomited blood. This guy stole the ancestral medicine of the heavenly human clan. One had to know that the ancestral medicine of the celestial humans was extremely important to the celestial humans. Without it, the celestial humans would lose their greatest support. The heavenly human clan relied on the ancestral medicine to produce many experts. Now that they had lost the ancestral medicine, it would be difficult for the heavenly human clan to produce any more peerless experts. "Patriarch, what should we do?" A middle-aged man next to the patriarch of the heavenly human clan asked nervously. "What else can we do? Just say it." The patriarch of the heavenly human clan said angrily. The middle-aged man was helpless. 3 days were almost up. Jiyu Fei in the heavenly human city would not be easy to deal with. Primordial ancestral star, heavenly human city. The city was very peaceful. The Meng family had taken over the city lord's mansion and the entire heavenly human city. The cultivators in the city did not dare to act recklessly because of Jiyu Fei's strength. Moreover, the patriarch of the Meng family was a sage with 5 almighties as his subordinates. This kind of strength was enough to deter most of the cultivators in the city. The heavenly human clan did not dare to act recklessly. After all, their patriarch Tian Luo was still sealed in the mountain and river cauldron by Jiyu Fei. Ji Fei is back. At this moment, in the ancestral court of the Dragon Clan in the heavenly realm, an exclamation came from a temple floating in the sky. Why didn't he look for me when he came back? The voice continued to ring out from within the temple. I heard that Big Brother set foot on the ancient road of the human race as soon as he returned. Could something have happened to my niece? Asked a young man in green armor with a frown. That little girl Jiu Ling? A mighty-looking middle-aged man on the throne was startled when he heard this. This person was Old Tortoise, and the young man below the throne was Xiaoqing. Xiaoqing was supposed to help Jiu Fei oversee Wanxiang City in the human world, but the remaining sky demons in the heavenly realm had been active again recently, so Old Tortoise had no choice but to recall Xiaoqing. Boom! At this moment, a loud sound rang out and the entire ancestral court of the Dragon Clan shook. An extremely powerful ripple of energy came from outside the ancestral court of the Dragon Clan. Not again. The Old Tortoise was furious and disappeared from the throne. Those guys. Little Qing was also furious, and she also directly rushed out. At this moment, all the experts of the Dragon Clan in the ancestral court were alarmed. An old voice was heard, and then an old man walked out from the depths of the ancestral court of the Dragon Clan. Even the old ancestor is alarmed. Some experts of the Dragon Clan in the ancestral court of the Dragon Clan were shocked. At this moment, the angry roar of Old Tortoise was heard outside the entrance of the ancestral court of the Dragon Clan. A foul stench filled the air outside the entrance. Someone actually moved a pile of shit and blocked the entrance. Old Tortoise's face was darker than the bottom of a pot. Come out and fight me if you have the guts. Such despicable behavior is a disgrace to the sky demons. Old Tortoise roared. His voice spread far and wide, but there was no response. Only his voice reverberated between the heavens and the earth. The experts that rushed out of the ancestral court of the Dragon Clan saw the pile of shit blocking the entrance and gritted their teeth in anger, wanting nothing more than to tear those guys to pieces. The Dragon Clan and the Sky Demon Clan had been enemies for generations. The two clans had been fighting ever since their ancestors were born. In this battle, the Dragon Clan had the absolute upper hand, but the Sky Demon Clan had been passed down. Every generation, there would be experts emerging to fight against the Dragon Clan. All right, all of you, go back. An old voice rang out. All the experts of the Dragon Clan obediently retreated. Uncle. Old Tortoise immediately lost his temper when he saw the old man. One last step. The old man came in front of Old Tortoise and stared at him, muttering to himself. Uncle, what did you say? Old Tortoise was baffled. Your father has long predicted that this day would come. All right, it's time. Come with me. The old man turned around and left. Uncle, where are we going? Old Tortoise hurriedly followed. Just follow me. If you're lucky, you'll soar to the sky. If not, you'll die, said the old man. This, Old Tortoise vaguely thought of something. He couldn't help but feel excited, nervous, and even a little afraid. He was already a quasi-supreme. It wouldn't be easy for him to soar to the sky and reach the extreme supreme realm. So this was what his uncle meant when he said one last step. Could it be that father left something for me? Old Tortoise guessed. The Tai Huang was the most powerful dragon ancestor since ancient times. His means were absolutely heaven-defying. Soon, Old Tortoise followed his uncle into the depths of the ancestral court of the Dragon Clan. At this time, in Celestial City on the primordial ancestral star, in Jiu Fei's inner world, in the world inside the 9 heaven stars' sword, a figure roared to the sky amidst endless lightning. In the next moment, endless lightning frantically converged toward that figure. In just a few seconds, the lightning that enveloped the entire world was completely devoured by that figure. Finally. I finally succeeded. Powerful divine will fluctuated between heaven and earth. Jiu Ling's martial body was like a bottomless pit, frantically devouring the surrounding essence of heaven and earth. She finally took that step and broke through the shackles of cultivation. At the edge of life and death, she successfully stimulated all her potential and broke into the quasi-supreme realm in one fell swoop. To sublimate and transform in the midst of life and death, this was what it meant to be a martial artist. Jiyu Ling could only stimulate her potential and improve her cultivation through the tempering of life and death. Very good. The peerless sword spirit's voice sounded in Jiyu Ling's mind. Is it time? Jiyu Ling asked. Her quasi-supreme martial body required a huge amount of essence, but the spirit chi in the world inside the Nine Heaven Stars sword was very limited. There's still half a day left. You can properly consolidate your cultivation. The sword spirit's voice sounded in Jiyu Ling's mind again. Half a day left. Jiyu Ling directly sat cross-legged in the void and took out a carnate flame of the way. It was a kind of fire source of heaven and earth that Jiyu Fei obtained in the deserted world. Jiyu Fei gave this carnate flame of the way to Jiyu Ling. Jiyu Ling did not hesitate and directly swallowed the carnate flame of the way. In the next moment, a layer of fire immediately appeared on her body. Chapter 4254. Jiyu Ling had refined the carnate immortal fire of the great path that Jiyu Fei had given her, and her cultivation at the quasi-supreme level had completely stabilized. Roar! She suddenly opened her eyes and roared into the sky, causing the entire sword spirit world to tremble. Master succeeded. Her voice spread throughout the entire sword spirit world. Yang and the others, who were cultivating in another region, were both surprised and overjoyed when they heard Jiyu Ling's voice. Senior sister is indeed amazing, Zhao Hao exclaimed. He knew that Jiyu Ling was only one step away from breaking through to the quasi-supreme level, but he did not expect her to actually succeed. One had to know that taking that step was simply too difficult. There were some extremely talented people who had cultivated for countless years, but their cultivation had always been stuck at the pinnacle of the Holy Venerate, unable to advance. In less than 3 days, Jiyu Ling had already broken through from the pinnacle of the Holy Venerate to the quasi-supreme level. Zhao Hao and the others were very curious. What kind of cultivation did Jiyu Ling undergo to break through from the pinnacle of the Holy Venerate to the quasi-supreme level so quickly? We need to work harder as well, Zhao Hao said. At this time, Zhao Hao and the others were also within the formation. This was a cultivation formation, and when the formation operated, it conjured a series of powerful figures that attacked Zhao Hao and the others. These blurry figures were incomparably powerful. If they were not careful, they would be severely injured by these figures and have no choice but to retreat into the formation's eye. Only the formation's eye was safe in the sword spirit's cultivation formation. As long as they stepped out of the formation's eye, they would be attacked. At this time, a gigantic figure directly stomped down on Zhao Hao. Zhao Hao hurriedly leaped to the side. Boom! The humongous foot directly stomped on the ground, causing the entire ground to shake violently, and a cloud of dust rose from the ground. Damn it! Zhao Hao had just stood up when a huge sword had already slashed down in front of him. Another figure was attacking him, just like a sword Dao sage attacking him. Zhao Hao held the spear in his hand horizontally, blocking in front of him. Clang! Sparks flew everywhere. Zhao Hao only felt his arms that were holding the spear tremble, and a powerful force came through, directly sending him flying off the ground. Zhao Hao was directly sent flying hundreds of feet away. He staggered a few steps, and just as he stabilized himself, the gigantic figure had already attacked again. Roar! Zhao Hao's fighting spirit was like a rainbow, and he directly engaged in a great battle with the huge phantom. Suddenly, sword chi surged within the formation, and the dazzling sword light tore through the void. He only lasted for a dozen seconds before he was severely injured by the two phantoms and fled back to the center of the formation. In the center of the spell formation, Meng Long and Yang sat cross-legged on the ground, using their profound arts to recover their cultivation bases. Their bodies were stained with blood, having just fought a fierce battle. The cultivation of the three of them had increased, but it was still not enough. They still hadn't broken through the shackles of cultivation and entered a higher realm. While Zhao Hao and the others were still cultivating in the sword spirit world, Jiyu Fei was leisurely playing in his own world. After eating the dragon meat hot pot, he walked around in his inner world. He wanted to take a good look at the world he had created. The world was full of life force, spiritual energy pervading the air. Immortal medicines and divine medicines could be seen everywhere. Even some beasts were full of spirituality, not fleeing when they saw Jiyu Fei. Roar! Just as Jiyu Fei passed by a valley, a ferocious tiger rushed out of the valley and pounced at Jiyu Fei. "Little kitty, you want to eat me?" Jiyu Fei waved his right hand, and the ferocious tiger, which only weighed a few 100 kilograms, was sent flying back to where it came from. It smashed into the valley, breaking countless trees. The valley was in chaos, and trees fell one after another. The ferocious tiger had become a spirit monster, but in Jiyu Fei's eyes, it was not much stronger than an ant. At that moment, Jiyu Fei felt a heat on his right arm. Then, the fire chilene brand on his arm lit up, and a fire chilene rushed out of his arm. Roar! The fire chilene, which was the size of a small mountain, appeared in the world and roared at the sky. Countless living beings within a radius of 100,000 kilometers were terrified to the extreme. A powerful holy aura burst from the fire chilene's body. "Not bad, there's some improvement." Jiyu Fei looked at the fire chilene and nodded. This fire chilene had been sleeping on his right arm for a period of time, and its cultivation had actually broken through to the sage realm. "Master," the fire chilene immediately laid on the ground. Jiyu Fei did not say anything, and directly leaped onto the back of the fire chilene. "Let's go." Jiyu Fei waved his sleeves, rode on this divine beast, and rushed to the horizon, patrolling his inner world. On this day, countless living beings in Jiyu Fei's inner world saw a peerless god riding on a legendary fire chilene, patrolling the world. Wherever this man and beast passed, all living beings were terrified to the extreme. After Jiyu Fei went to take a look at the ancestral dragon's immortal herb, he came to the valley where Yang was. "Master is here." Mozian and Zhu Ziru couldn't help but be surprised and happy when they sensed Jiyu Fei's aura in the valley. In Jiyu Fei's inner world, Mozian and Zhu Ziru were both cultivating with Yang but what made them depressed was that they actually had to call this little girl Little Lingxiana senior sister. However, they were also convinced, because Little Lingxiana could almost destroy their bodies and souls with just one finger. Little Lingxiana's cultivation was much higher than Mozian and Zhu Ziru. One had to know that Yang was the only successor of the Pill Cauldron Gate. The Pill Cauldron Gate was most proficient in refining elixirs, immortal pills, divine pills, poison pills, and all kinds of strange elixirs. Recipes were all recorded in Yang Myriad Medicine Pill Tome. The Myriad Medicine Pill Tome was the secret of the Pill Cauldron Gate. Even Jiyu Fei had never seen this tome before. Mozian Zhu Ziru, and Little Lingxian were all regarded as successors by Yang. She did not want the Pill Cauldron Gate to be destroyed in her hands. Jiyu Fei was directly led into the valley by Mozian and Zhu Ziru. However, Little Lingxian was in seclusion, so Jiyu Fei did not see Little Lingxian. He also did not see Yang, which made him a little disappointed. He still wanted to talk to Yang. Jiyu Fei immediately gave Zhu Ziru and Mozian some pointers, then left the valley. 3 days are up. Jiyu Fei returned to the mountain peak. The 9 heaven stars sword that was floating in the void emitted an even stronger eternal aura. This was an eternal sword artifact, and its power was so strong that it was heaven-defying. Jiyu Fei directly communicated with the eternal sword spirit. Chapter 4255. Quasi-Supreme. As soon as Jiyu Ling appeared, Jiyu Fei's eyes lit up. The aura that his daughter gave off was extremely familiar. With the appearance of the ancient spirit, a shocking aura appeared in this part of the world. All the living beings were terrified to the extreme. "Retract your aura," Jiyu Fei transmitted to Jiyu Ling. "Yes, father." Jiyu Ling finally realized that something was wrong. The aura that she gave off could actually affect this part of the world. All the spiritual qi in the world was under her control. As long as she willed it, she could shatter the void and the world. This was power, great power. Jiyu Ling felt the new power in her body. This power was many times stronger than the power of the Sage Tao. It was no wonder that a peak holy venerate could not withstand a single blow from a quasi-supreme. This power was above the power of the Sage Tao. And the true power of the extreme Tao was above the power of a quasi-supreme. At this moment, Jiyu Ling retracted her aura. The surging spiritual qi in the world gradually calmed down. A quasi-supreme was too strong. With a single thought, they could affect the entire world. This kind of power that could control everything made Jiyu Ling feel a little inflated. Guard against arrogance and rashness. Only then can one be invincible, Jiyu Fei said. As he spoke, the divine voice of the great Tao surged. When Jiyu Ling heard it, it was like a blow to her head, waking her up. Her Tao heart was extremely stable. She had just gotten a little carried away for a moment, but she immediately adjusted herself. You can take care of things on your own now. Jiyu Fei looked at his daughter and said happily. Compared to father, I'm still far from it. Jiyu Ling smiled. Yes, this is a gift for you. It's to celebrate you becoming a quasi-supreme. As Jiyu Fei spoke, he flipped his right hand and a little beast appeared in his palm. This little beast was completely red, and there was a fiery aura surrounding it. It was the fire Qilin. A sage-level holy beast. When Jiyu Ling saw this, she was pleasantly surprised. Actually, with her current cultivation, it was not difficult for her to subdue a saint beast. Master, this. The fire Qilin on Jiyu Fei's palm looked at Jiyu Fei in a daze. Master wants to give me to this little girl. The fire Qilin was naturally unwilling. It had to be known that if it followed Jiyu Fei, its future would be limitless. She's my daughter. You have to take good care of her, understand? Jiyu Fei said indifferently. He then removed the connection between him and the fire Qilin. The Inferno Qilin was actually female, so it would be rather inconvenient for it to follow him around. Thus, he decided to give it to Jiyu Ling as a gift to congratulate her on successfully becoming a quasi-supremacy. Yes, Master. The fire Qilin hurriedly nodded. I'll call you Fire Dance from now on, Jiyu Ling said. Thank you for giving me a name, Master. The fire Qilin Fire Dance leaped from Jiyu Fei's hand to Jiyu Ling's. Then, it transformed into a streak of fiery light and flew from Jiyu Ling's hand into her shoulder. A fire Qilin brand immediately appeared on Jiyu Ling's shoulder. Jiyu Ling's mount was none other than the Flame Qilin, Flame Dance. 3 days have passed. Why haven't junior brother and the rest come out? Jiyu Ling said. They're not mature enough. Jiyu Fei said. How long are they going to cultivate in there? Jiyu Ling asked. I don't know. Whenever they make a breakthrough, they'll come out. Jiyu Fei shook his head. Letting Zhao Hao and the rest out now would be harming them. One had to know that there were countless experts on the primordial ancestral star. The 3 old ancestors of the celestial tribe alone were 3 quasi-supremacies. And there were many superpowers on the primordial ancestral star that could go against the celestial tribe. Even Jiyu Ling had to be careful when she went out, let alone Zhao Hao and the rest. All right, my good daughter, the outside world is a world that belongs to you. Go and explore. Jiyu Fei looked at Jiyu Ling dotingly and opened up his inner world. Father, Jiyu Ling looked at Jiyu Fei excitedly. Go on. A fledgling will have to fly eventually. Jiyu Fei said. Yes, father. Jiyu Ling did not hesitate and took a step forward. She had just made a breakthrough to the quasi-supremacy realm. Naturally, she needed to find someone to practice with. It was night time in the outside world. Under the night sky, the atmosphere in Celestial City was different. A dozen strong black figures blocked the old clan leader and a group of experts of the Meng tribe in the main hall. These people were covered in black tight clothes, leaving only a pair of fierce eyes like that of a hungry wolf, staring at the old clan leader of the Meng tribe. Stop your futile struggle and die obediently, and I might leave you with a whole corpse, the leader of the group in black said coldly, glaring at old clan leader Meng. Who are you? The old clan leader glanced at the men in black, and his eyes finally fell on the leading man in black. People who want your lives. The leading man in black said with a murderous look. Don't you know whose territory this is? The old clan leader gritted his teeth and said. 5 or 6 of his subordinates had already died in the hands of these people. With their deaths, this matter could not be settled easily. Jiyu Fei? Humph, we've already investigated. We don't know where he went. It's impossible for him to return before 3 days have passed. The leading man in black said disapprovingly. That's right. When Jiyu Fei comes back, he will only see your corpses. Another man in black sneered. Damn it. The old clan leader's face darkened when he heard that. It seemed like these guys had planned this from the start. All right, I'll send you on your way. The leading man in black waved his hand, and the surrounding men in black immediately closed in on the old clan leader. Who are you going to send on your way? At this moment, a voice came from the back of the main hall. Then, a figure walked out from the back of the hall. What? The leading man in black was shocked. The other men in black also stared at the person who walked out from the back of the hall. Kill this guy as well. The leader of the black-robed men gave the order. Yes. The group of black-robed men hurriedly accepted the order. In the next moment, the black-robed men dispersed and 3 black-robed men approached, gulling maliciously. You're courting death. Jiu Ling waved his hand casually, and the 3 men in black were crushed in the void, turning into a cloud of blood mist. The 3 men in black were instantly killed in body and soul. The scene of killing 3 experts with a flick of a finger shocked the other men in black. Even the leading man in black could not help but be moved. Young master, it's the young master. We're saved. The people of the Meng family were surprised and overjoyed when they saw that it was Jiu Ling. With Jiu Ling's help, these guys were just ants. Greetings, young master. The old clan leader of the Meng family hurriedly greeted Jiu Ling. Young master? Are you Jiu Fei's daughter?